Get cool stuff for what you were going to do anyway. Drink beer. With Buy Beer, Get Gear from Labatt, you can just snap a photo of your receipt and upload it to the website to rack up points for exclusive merch. Get points for every purchase, whether you're grabbing a pint on draft, a case for a party, or a tall boy at the stadium. Any size, any product, anywhere you buy Labatt. Buy beer, get gear. Sign up now at rewards.labattusa.com.
12 o'clock right on the stinking button, and welcome. Live here from the World Headquarters. And then getting ready to hook up here with Adam Terry, former SU and NFL lineman, getting set for the final home game of the season for Coach Fran Brown and the Orange, and the senior day as Syracuse preps for Boston College. And at 3 p.m. kick, our pregame coverage, Syracuse Haulers pregame tailgate broadcast built by IKEA here on TK99 and TK105. But welcome, and again, also welcome to those joining us here on the video on Twitch. You can go to qsportstalk.com, and there you get a peek here live in the studio, and then in a few moments live from the pregame setup up at the JMA Wireless Dome. I know there were some changes to some of the programming because of weather, etc., and some travel, but nonetheless, getting excited for the game, again, the final game of the season for the team and the seniors. And I know it's a lot different these days comparatively back in the day, and we'll talk about this with Adam when he's able to join us, that you would be able to follow a player or players for their entire time at the university. If they're here for 4 or 5 years, and then on senior day, have a chance to really send them out and stuff, because you kind of felt like you knew them. Where now it's a little bit different. Some of the guys who transfer in and maybe are only here for a season or two, and it's a little bit different, even though they are as important to the program for their contribution. And that's what the people will be there to cheer on for a little bit later on here in the day. But aside from that, we'll get to some of the injuries, some of the guys who probably won't be playing today, not just necessarily for injuries, but also redshirting or just looking ahead to next season, as Coach Fran has made mention of several times during this past week. So we'll talk about that coming up here in a bit. And then also some of the other side stories and sub-stories here for the SU football team as they get set for their final game of the year and then start planning on next season. And I know there have been some high-level recruits chiming in here in the past week or so, reaffirming their commitment to Coach Fran Brown and the team. And then some of the players, the current players, who are definitely coming back next season, and that was nice to hear and see from them on the social media during the past week. But in the meantime, just getting started here, it's Syracuse taking on Boston College, 3 p.m. kick. Our game day coverage later on today will be brought to you by Liverpool Pool and Spa, Burdick Lexus, Burdick Toyota, Burdick BMW, and Burdick Ford here on the flagship station for Syracuse football, TK99 and TK105. And I'll tell you what, we will take our first break coming up during the hour. We'll hear from Coach Fran from a couple of his interviews this week. Some of the action from last week that we'll have to break down at this point. Kind of old news, but we haven't had a chance to talk about the most recent game against Notre Dame. That will bring up a couple of nuggets with Adam Terry when he's able to join us, as obviously he was out in South Bend for that game with the voice of the Orange, Matt Park. But I tell you what, we will take our first break, and again, coming up in a bit, we'll be joined by Adam Terry, who was delayed. I can say that safely, but is on his way safely to his broadcast spot here on the flagship station for Syracuse football, TK99 and TK105, and we will be right back.
TK99 and TK105, Syracuse's classic.
All right, good morning. Hello, everybody, or good afternoon. Off and running we go. Just awaiting the arrival of... Yes, a nice Labatt Blue Light would taste pretty good right about now. Yeah, I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Jen, how are you? And Bill and Rita and the gang? Nikki Vegas. Yeah, you know what? Obviously with the holiday, it throws everybody's schedule off a little bit. Yeah, and there was no Orange Nation, obviously. on Thursday or Friday. Yeah, we actually celebrated last week. We had family in town, so we did our Thanksgiving last Saturday. Oh, hang on. I'm hearing some activity out here. So I'll tell you what, we will.
Waiting on Adam Terry. I'll give you an update when he's here.
Results. Call Kevin and Amanda today. 315-396-2749. 396-2749. The Fates team at Acropolis Realty Group. Your dream, our priority.
I'm Tom Anelli, New York's DWI lawyer. Over 2 decades ago, DWI investigations. Unfairness that, at times, make the innocent appear guilty. So driven not to see good people hurt by an unfair system, I began protecting people by dedicating my entire practice to DWI. And I do it 24/7. Over 2 decades later, I still do. Over 2 decades later, I still say,
Oh, Jen, I didn't even notice.
you can't take my client without coming through me. This system left to its own.
It's one of the guys there from Twitch running things down the hall. I really only see some of those guys on the weekends.
New York's DWI lawyer, and I'm here when you need me, 24/7.
Tom Anelli and Associates. Offices at 129 Walton Street, Syracuse, New York, 13202.
Go. How'd that happen?
Shopping for a mattress can be confusing, right?
Hang on one second here.
Report helps by mapping your
If you want Tim for a segment, he's more than welcome to. It's your call.
Is he up there right now?
Yeah, whatever you want to do.
People wondering how come you're wearing a Duke shirt, by the way, here on.
I've done it before. They know me by now.
Yeah. Will he come up in the same spot there?
Yeah, I'll bring him on.
Yeah. I'll just go on and just check on him real quick. In about a minute here.
Cool.
Commercials. Thank you. There you go. There's your Duke fan right there. I think we're going to be joined by Tim Leonard here from Drive Time up on campus. Hey, Ryan, how are you?
Drivers Village in Cicero or BurdickBMW.com. We are live and gearing up for the Syracuse Orange. It's our Syracuse Haulers pregame tailgate with Gomez and Adam Terry on TK99 and TK105, the flagship station of SU football.
Live here from the world headquarters in Armory Square and live from the press box at the JMA Wireless Dome from Drive Time on ESPN down the hall. Tim Leonard joining us. Tim, how are you?
Hey, Gomez. I'm doing great. Excited for a game today. I guess I'm not as proficient in blocking as your scheduled guest here. I don't have any NFL pedigree, but I'll happily talk some Syracuse football with you. Good to be on with you.
Good to be on with you as well. And then just quickly, Thanksgiving. Good day. People here in the stream chat get very upset when the ESPN shows are not on in consecutive days, and obviously with the holiday. But how did it work out for you? What was the highlight of your Thanksgiving?
Well, Thanksgiving was good, except for having to travel back yesterday and drive through kind of some slushy road conditions to get back. I went to Cape Cod to see some family, so we had a full feast there. Actually sneaked in a little bit of golf in the morning on Thanksgiving Day. It was like 50 degrees, sunny, so we went out and toughed it out for a quick round. That was our version of the turkey trot, which was way better than running to me. So we did a little bit of a workout before, stuffing our face with some good turkey and all the good side dishes and everything. So good to see some family, brief break, and it worked out well this year. I mean, usually for me, the women's basketball schedule determines if I can actually have a Thanksgiving dinner, and they did have their holiday tournament this year, but it was a little bit before normal. So the weekend before at Mohegan Sun, I was there, and then I had some time to actually get some turkey, which was good.
And overall, it was a pretty decent run for Coach Felicia Leggett-Jack and the team, and then running into a Michigan team, obviously, that's high level. And again, you can kind of tell the difference in that upper echelon, and then where you need to be, and where you need to get to.
Exactly. Yeah, that's well summarized. I mean, it was a successful trip overall for them. They went there and got a win over a Utah team that was a little bit ahead of them in the rankings going into that matchup and maybe slight favorites. So they're going to be back at home here. They'll do the changeover crew tonight and get ready for Howard at 2 p.m. tomorrow. So we'll have that game, of course, on ESPN Syracuse. But it does feel like the rest of their schedule now, they really could be sitting at 11-1 on the season before they play their first ACC home game at the end of the month against Duke. And the ACC overall, very good in the women's side, but they have been sort of struggling in the non-con. So Syracuse actually has picked up probably one of the better wins of the league opponents when you look at women's basketball by getting that win over Utah and then going up against Michigan. And I think Michigan is Final Four good, and I think they found that out. So it's still good to see where you stack up with one of those type of teams early on in the season.
Now on to I don't want to call it the other end of the spectrum, but going back last week to the Syracuse football game out in South Bend. And probably like a lot of fans, if you were watching at home and maybe if you missed the first couple of minutes because you're getting ready, and then all of a sudden you turn on the television and it was 21-0, 35-0 in the first quarter, in the first half. It's when you were watching that game, were you getting texts from friends like, what's going on here?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, because it was the type of game that made national news in the wrong way, I would say, for Syracuse. There were a lot of people that I hadn't heard from in a little bit, and they were asking, what's going on exactly after the way that game started. I've never really seen anything like that. And I think we all knew going into the game that Notre Dame had every reason to run up the score, and Notre Dame was going to play well. And because of where they are positioned in the college football playoff, it might become an ugly game. It was ugly in a different way, where you didn't even have to give the ball to Notre Dame before they had 21 points on the board, which is very unusual. But I've liked the way that Fran Brown has handled it since that game. You know, he comes on his Monday press conference and he apologizes right away, and I think he is learning a lot about what it takes to be a good head coach this year. And I think the roster that they have, he's been talking about it a lot, but it is worth mentioning again that there's a lot of young pieces here that are getting game experience and learning from the game experience they're getting. So, well, it is me looking at it with the silver lining, and it's inexcusable to lose a game in that manner, of course. I think we're all in agreement that that shouldn't happen regardless of the situation. But they have been dealt a very tough hand this year, and I think they're trying to make the most of it. And it's good today that at least they're going up against someone that is more of a peer-like school here, that we're hoping it should be a closer game, and maybe a game that Syracuse very well should win today. And that would be a good way to send off the seniors, which is kind of the biggest thing on all of our minds here today, knowing that there are a lot of guys that have been with the program for a while, or even guys that have been with the program for just a couple of years and meant a lot to the program. And this will be their last time suiting up in the Dome today.
And it is, I would call it unusual, more just a sign of the times of college sports now compared to a few years ago. And maybe a guy on senior day is a guy that you knew and got to know because they were there for 4 or 5 seasons before moving on to whatever came next in their life. And now, because of the era of transfer portals and guys coming and going, it might be a guy that has only been there for 1 season, but as a senior, and his contribution should be noted. But it's just, from a fan's perspective, it's just a little bit different than...
It is different, yeah. I would agree with that. I mean, you think about Demetrius Weatherspoon. This is his second year. He's going to be one of the seniors walking today. So he spent 2 seasons here at Syracuse, both of them with Fran Brown. But he's a starter in those 2 seasons, and that feels like almost a veteran guy in the program this day and age. I think the best example of the old school senior that we're used to is Dan Villari today. And Dan Villari has spoken a lot throughout the week with media about how this is a full circle moment for him. The first time he played tight end in a game was against Boston College, and he remembers blocking alongside Matthew Bergeron, who's now in the NFL. And he is a guy that was here with Dino Babers and then stayed on with the transition to Fran Brown and even stayed on this year. So he's maybe the best example of someone that the fan base knows, and he's had such a unique college career with the switch to quarterback for a handful of games, running the Wildcats, starting his career at Michigan as a quarterback recruit, coming to Syracuse thinking I might be a quarterback, and then quickly transitioning to tight end. And now you look at where he stands in the tight end record books, and he is actually one of the more prolific tight end pass catchers in Syracuse program history. Some of that is just volume and the style of play and the era that he is playing in. But he's really carved out a nice career at tight end and was off to a great start this season. Of course, like everyone else that's a pass catcher on this team, once the quarterback injury happened to Steve Angeli, his numbers have dropped off, but he was right up there nationally in terms of receptions and yards for a tight end through the first 4 or 5 games of the season.
That's the voice of Tim Leonard from Drive Time on ESPN Radio. Down the hall, Adam Terry making his way to the broadcast area. Normally it would be in the quad, but with the weather conditions, etc., moving inside. And normally we don't have a chance to see or hear from the press box perspective this almost 3 hours till game time. But when you're looking out on the field right now, are the guys are down there warming up? What's happening on the field? Did they come out yet and started to stretch?
No one warming up yet. They're getting the American flag ready to go, it looks like. They're going through the proper testing for that on the field right now. I'm sure the guys will trickle out here maybe in the next 30 or 45 minutes, and we'll be keeping an eye on a couple of the potential injured players and be reporting back, I'm sure, on that. But, yeah, right now just everyone kind of probably getting loose in the locker room and listening to their favorite hype music. And we'll see. I mean, I think when Syracuse gets out here, I think we're all curious to see if there's a little bit of an improvement from Joe Filardi, assuming he gets the start today at quarterback. And just curious to see how Syracuse stacks up against a team in Boston College that, keep in mind, as they've been going on this losing streak, they really haven't faced anyone that is like BC. I mean, obviously BC is coming off a bye week, and they've actually been playing a little bit better of late. And you could point to UNC and Pittsburgh were some winnable games here at home, we thought, going into the matchup, particularly UNC, and that's the game where they first went to Joe Filardi at quarterback, and they struggled to move the ball. But it would just be good to see Syracuse have some semblance of kind of moving the ball on offense today. We haven't seen that in a while, and I think Boston College is the most likely team that they played here of the bunch that they played since they've lost Steve Angeli to allow that to happen. So, I think we're all in agreement that it's been a tough season, but getting a win here at the end of the year would mean a lot to the guys that have been working hard and constantly putting in the work in practice, even though the season hasn't gone well. And keep in mind, BC's thinking the exact same thing. You talk or you hear from their coach, Bill O'Brien, and he's gone out of his way a couple times this season to talk about how his team has not quit, even though they are sitting at 1-10. And they've had even a tougher go of it in terms of their losing streak. They've dropped 10 straight games since beating Fordham in the opener.
Have you had a chance to see, Tim, yet that Rob Conrad's 44 collection and display? I know it was unveiled and there was a lot of media coverage for it. I have not seen it. Have you seen that yet?
I have not seen it yet. That was one of the things that I was going to maybe go over and check out before we go on the air here. I'm excited to see it, and I'm sure we'll chat about that a little bit with John Wildtack when he comes on our pregame show on Learfield in a little bit and get his thoughts on it. But I think it's a great idea. I've seen the photos, and I saw some of the stuff they posted yesterday from it. So that's definitely a new feature that is worth checking out for fans that are coming into the Dome today. And I myself want to go over there and look at it a little bit.
And where physically in the Dome, in the area, if fans are coming and they're going to go to the game later on today, if they wanted to see it, where are they going?
That's a good question. I should know. I think it's, my guess is it's kind of over by Myron Victory Court. I guess it's more, Matt Park is helping me out. It's more kind of to the left. So I think if you're coming in from the dome, like west lot side, kind of walking up the hill, passing some of the dorms, you're close to it from that vantage point if you're coming in that way. Club 44, I guess, is
Gotcha.
the best way to summarize where it is. I got a big assist there from Matt Park. So Club 44 is where you can keep an eye out for that, which makes sense. Club 44
Sure.
for the 44 Shrine.
Well, thank you for the assist here, Tim, because right behind you, it appears to be a former lineman, would be my guess.
Exactly. You know when Adam walks into the room. Yeah. Not many people are as tall and big as him. So
Hey,
he's
Tim,
ready
thank you.
to jump in. Yes, of course.
Tim Leonard from Drive Time on ESPN. And I'll tell you what, we'll take a quick break here, and we'll be right back on TK99 and TK105.
TK99 and
How we doing, man?
Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm
Little
good.
weather delay, I can say.
No,
I didn't want to.
I got pulled over for a
Okay, well, save it for the air.
inspection sticker. Oh yeah, no, I'll give you good
Okay.
radio time right now.
Okay, good. We got a couple of minutes here, but Tim kind enough to step in there.
My normal leisurely drive in turned into, it was still leisurely.
Now, was it one of those deals where, like, sometimes I'll plan a leisurely drive and think I have plenty of time, but all of a sudden the things start taking longer than I thought, and then there's like a traffic accident, and then all of a sudden, when I thought I would have a nice, relaxing drive, all of a sudden I'm looking at the clock going, wait a minute.
Oh, no. Normally I give myself 40 minutes extra, right? So, like, we're a 3 o'clock kick. So, 3 o'clock for me, I got to get here by noon. So, I'm usually in the box by, like, 11:15.
Nice.
So, I got yanked over. I'm driving. You get pulled over, get a ticket. Inspection sticker.
Of all things.
God dang. Well, hey, end of the month. I never believed in quotas, but today I do.
That's true. I agree. They always say, "Oh no, there's no quota system for tickets." But
yeah, and then they didn't even give me a fix-it ticket either.
They didn't. They give you like a 10-day, like
hey,
a.
Go get it inspected. Yeah, no, not at all.
They gave you the full shot.
I got the full-fledged. Well, so I'm going to show up. I'm going to try to figure out what I did wrong besides not getting my car inspected. So.
I got 30 years ago, a ticket in Marcellus. And then to go, you can mail it in, or if you're going to like fight it or plead it or whatever like that, you have to go to and at the time, the judges in Marcellus, Judge Snyder was his last name, was, in a town like that, during the week, Judge Snyder is a farmer or like, he's got a regular job.
Gotcha.
And then he's like a justice of the peace. So it was in his basement. That's where I went, like Judge Snyder's basement. He had like 3 or 4 chairs set up, and he was sitting at the end of the basement with a court reporter guy.
It might be the same out in Wolcott, but we'll see.
The guy, and everybody knows everybody, so the judge is, he's trying to read the thing to make it sound legit. Like the guy's name is Fred something. Fred so-and-so, you've been charged with driving, 46 in a 30. How do you plead? And the guy says, I ain't pleading until I know what the penalty is. And the Judge Snyder says, well, you can't do that. I mean, you either plead guilty or not guilty, and then I tell you what it is. Well, I ain't saying nothing. So Judge Snyder just says, Fred, how about $30? Perfect. Guilty. All right, then I'm guilty.
Love it.
Small town justice. All right, I'll go back. Here we go. Here.
It's almost game time. Gomez and Adam Terry are live with our Syracuse Haulers pregame tailgate on TK99 and TK 105, the flagship station of SU football.
Live here from the World Headquarters and live from the press box at the JMA Wireless Dome. Former SU and NFL lineman Adam Terry back in the saddle after, and I was trying to cover for you, Adam, say, oh, must, weather delay, a lot of snow.
Oh, no.
I know, because you're coming in from the Rochester area, and that pesky lake effect snow can create all kinds of problems, but the reality is, what happened?
Yeah, that's what I'm still trying to figure out. So out on 104, right?
Yeah.
That's like the leisurely drive for me. Got my Dunkin', kind of on the way in. We got the fam. The son's over in the recruiting area right now. And, state trooper pulls up behind me. I'm driving a little ways, probably, if I look at my ways, I'm probably 2 miles worth of the state trooper behind me. And I was like, okay, what did I do?
Yeah.
So in my head, I'm thinking, was I speeding? Do I have a light out? What this, what that? Nope, none of the above. I got pulled over, got an appearance ticket for a inspection sticker. Inspection sticker, not totally egregious, but egregious enough. It's
like
when
when?
was it?
Last
August.
month? August?
Yeah, so
that's 4
and then
months
she
ago.
kept throwing around, but throwing around like, hey, it's not 6 months yet, so it's, and and my wife is in the back because my son's sitting next to me because he's a large human. She's like, well, is it a fix-it ticket? And she's like, no, you got to appear. And I was like, okay.
I thought they gave you like a 10-day thing. Oh boy.
Yeah, well, we'll let your listeners inform us on the rules and regulations, but I'm not. It's one of those where I'll get it taken care of. I'll show up and have lunch in beautiful Wolcott, New York, and maybe get some apples or something along the lines like that. But no. So I got delayed a little bit. It was
okay.
Nothing too egregious.
So,
no.
Was the state trooper?
But it was one where I asked the question, did you see my, because, okay. How you set your phone up in the left hand. I set my phone up in the left-hand side, one of those little docks.
Yeah.
So it blocks out the my inspection sticker. So,
okay.
I'm not really paying too much attention to it. And usually what happens is you bring it in for an oil change, and they're like, oh, hey, by the way, you need the inspection sticker done. Oh, okay. But not today.
Not today. Wow. So how did she see it?
That was my question. So I think what I don't know. We'll find out in court. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, it's like, how did you?
Because I asked, I go, did you see it? And she was like, no, I ran your tag. I go, okay, so you're following me for some reason.
Yeah, why was she running your tag?
Now we'll find out. I don't know. I don't know. I don't speed too fast in that neck of the woods because I got pulled over probably like 5 years ago for going 7 miles over, and we were playing Clemson, and the guy was just like, "Slow down here, Chief. You're good to go."
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see.
Oh, fight it, man.
No, we're not going to. I mean, I'll show up. That's the extent of me fighting it. I'll get the inspection done before I go, and
we'll just throw it out.
See what, who knows? They might throw me in cuffs and bring me into the basement, throw me away. Who knows? It's going to be the last time you're ever going to talk to me again, man.
Well, it's the last time this year. I know that much. Right?
Unfortunate.
Unfortunately, yes. But the last time. Look at that, the professional segue. And the transition from your traffic violation to the last time that we chat with this season, obviously coming to an end for the Orange and the Coach Fran and the team in the game against BC coming up later on. Final thoughts. I know at this point there's nothing really to say about last week's game other than how did that happen? And I know I was getting texts, and maybe you were at the time going, what's going on here? It looked like a typo. If you didn't know what was going on and were watching, the television and maybe score updates at the bottom of the screen, it might have been like, wow, it's got to be a mistake there. It can't be at the first quarter. But it happened. It's just done and it's over.
Well, and it's a tough one too. Like with where we stand right now with the quarterback position, having Filardi in there, you knew that there were going to be some growing pains throughout that process. But the one, I can only equate it to a tsunami. You kind of see it coming, then all of a sudden, boom, it hits you fast, and it's all over by the time you pick your head up. Everybody's underwater, and the interception, and then the pump block, and then the interception. 7-0 against a team like that, you might be able to dig your way out. 21-0, you're in for it, and at a certain extent, you're going to call plays that are going to try to produce, some yardage, but not into the extent of you're not going to sit back there and throw the ball deep every play because you can't. Pass protection won't hold up long enough, and the quarterback doesn't necessarily have that capability to do so against a caliber team that I was impressed by Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame showed up and they executed extremely well, and they have some talent. Most impressive thing to me that I come away from is the speed. I think when we look and compare and contrast the two, Syracuse has progressed. Progressed in the recruiting. We've missed on a couple portal transfers, but for the most part, I think we've gotten bigger, faster, stronger across the board. But then you're looking at a perennial top 10, top 15 team in a club like Notre Dame, and you see there's, you're still not there yet. And when you go back home, you can. As a fan, you're like, oh my God, this, that, the other thing. As somebody that sees the team quite often, you're missing a few key guys, and to swing and a miss in the portal, especially at that quarterback position, and then in your mind say, hey, we rectified it by getting Steve Angeli, and then this cascading effect from Angeli to Collins to Carney to Filardi. We've just seen we're inept at that position right now. And I think this week's presser from Fran was, we're going to go after two guys in the portal. Two guys in the portal is great, but when one doesn't start, he's going to be gone too, right? So when we're looking at that, we have to make an understanding of we are going to be effective in the portal, but we also have to be one of the best teams in the country of developing talent and recruiting the high school kid, developing talent, getting them out on the field. And we've started to see that with the young emergence of some of the players and putting them in the game and getting them a lot of reps. But I think that's where, when you think of the haves and the have-nots, the haves of just, writing a blank check and getting a kid in on NIL, those are those larger public, state institutions that are really doing that with a large fan base. And you're seeing the difference between that and then some of the schools as far as like a Syracuse or a Duke, a little bit less student body, less of the alumni base. When you're graduating 15,000, 20,000 a year, that's a pretty significant alumni base that you can draw from. But when you're putting out 2,000 to 5,000, that's a little bit different. So I think it was a rude awakening for everybody. But it's also one that I don't necessarily buy into everything that was being said. I watched a few podcasts and some of the memes and the clips and things of that nature. Yeah, it was a catastrophic loss. We got beat up pretty mightily in every facet of the game. But I don't think that's a defining loss in what we are. I think it's one that, instead of it being a significantly defining loss, it's one that it's a humbling loss, and we better figure it out real quick, or we're gonna go in a different direction, especially with how well we've done in the younger recruiting, in the high school recruiting aspect, and what that is capable of. And we lost 2 or 3 guys that were quote unquote committed. That's not official until next week, but those are things that, if you're on the fence, those are things that really take notice by some of these younger kids and their families.
I thought it was a key, Adam, when after the weekend, some of the key recruits or bigger recruits that had committed to Coach Fran and the team earlier this year had come out on social media and reaffirmed their saying, hey, fans have to chill. And I can't remember which player had said that on his social media, but nothing changed. I'm coming. We're coming. And then a bunch of the guys who said that they're coming back, Steve and Yasin and guys like that, trying to settle fans down a little bit. And I think that was pretty key when they were doing that.
Yeah, and also too, you don't know, right? Like you don't know until the day that they say no, I'm not part of it, and the affirmation of it is great because you're trying to keep everything together as this. Travesty occurred. I mean, it was not pretty. It was not good. But you got to rally the troops and make sure that the guys that are in the inside are saying the right things and going in the right direction in order to keep that locker room together. This is a big one, right? Like we can erase that one. I can't say that. We can push that one behind us because you're never going to be able to erase that one. That one should stick in your craw the whole time if you're a Syracuse player or a coach that was on that field and you get walloped that bad. But with that saying, it's also this is the one that you got to go out and win. If you don't win this one, this is the one that is a tougher loss in my eyes because this is one where your Jimmies and your Joes, you put them out there. I think we're ahead of where Boston College is, and it's a recruiting regional matchup. So. If you haven't noticed, I've completely thrown out the case of the game itself, and this is more of a recruiting matchup and being able to hold on to players that have affirmed that they're coming back. So, yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, you go outside, there's not a lot of people out there. It's cold. We're not in the quad for the reason of it being cold out and things of that nature. But you got to heat up the dome inside, and if there's 5,000 or there's 50,000 in here, you still got to go out and play the game as hard as you possibly can and make a statement that, even though the things that occurred last week, we're moving forward and we're moving in this direction. With this game right here, yeah, it's senior day for a lot of these guys, and it's unfortunate that they're not going to have the fanfare of the people that were here last year, but it's also one of, this you made your own bed, right? Like this is where you are, this is what you're doing, and there's going to be some freshmen that are going to be out in positions that at the beginning of the season, some of those guys were seniors.
That is the voice of Adam Terry in the press box at the JMA Wireless Dome, getting set for the 3 p.m. kick against Boston College. We're live here from the World Headquarters in Armory Square. It is the Tailgate pregame broadcast, Syracuse Haulers pregame, built by IKEA. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be right back here on the flagship station for Syracuse football, TK99 and TK105.
TK.
There we are. Now you're settled in.
Yeah, we're good to go. Any updates on how to lessen that inspection sticker ticket I got?
Well, on Wednesday, we have the DA in as a regular guest, so I could ask Bill Fitzpatrick if...
I don't even know what county that is.
Oh, that's true.
I think that's one of the weird ones where it's a weird county because it's not Monroe County.
Oh,
it could be it could be Yates County.
Wow. It was Wolcott?
Because it's not Ontario County.
Uh-huh.
Like this is almost, like I said before, I got pulled over probably I wasn't even announcing. 7-8 years ago. Oh, it was the upset. It was the upset against Clemson. So whenever that was.
Oh, okay. And you got pulled over there?
17 or 18.
Yeah.
I got pulled over. But I was going a little over there. I'm not going to hide that one. But this one, it was just like out of the blue. I'm just sitting there, and all of a sudden, you get pulled up on, and my daughter's like, "Yeah, you got a cop behind you, Dad." I was like, "Oh, jeez."
There must be a mistake. I clearly am not doing anything wrong here.
Well, that's what I thought, but obviously, that is not the case.
It says Wolcott is Wayne County. It says
it's Wayne. Okay.
All right, you're right. So the DA would not be of any assistance for you.
Yeah, no. I'll face my penalty.
I got a throw years ago this is more like 40 years ago. But me and two friends, we were going to Niagara Falls because that's what you did back then to go buy beer and look at the falls and, whatever. And we're on the thruway. Got pulled over in, Montezuma. You go past the Montezuma swamp there, and there's a median, and there's a place where their state troopers sit there all the time.
Yep.
And then,
there's two of them. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I was driving, and my friends were. It was an old Ford Gran Torino, so it's like a 3-across bench seat. So we're all in the front. And then I look in the mirror, and and there were guys like blowing by me. So then I see him pull out and start pulling up behind me, and I'm going, no way. I mean, you can't be speeding. There's guys that are just like going 80 miles an hour, and sure enough, they hit the lights, whatever. And it's an old school cranking window, no power window. It gives you that satisfaction, really cranking down the window like you're gonna, get aggressive. Like it's like hanging up an old phone. Like it felt like you were making a statement. So I'm cranking down my window. State trooper came up and he says, "Your license plate is dirty. I can't read it." That's what my ticket was for.
Hey, riding dirty. What can you say?
A dirty license plate. I couldn't argue. It's like it was. So I said, "What if I get out?" And I think partly it was, I saw 3 guys at the, 3 21-year-old guys in the front seat of a car. Probably might have looked suspicious, like we were, whatever, smoking, whatever. They thought we might have been doing. But you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, I didn't win that battle.
I used to get that inspection one all the time, just because I was lazy. Or if I had like an extra $20 and the option was like either get my car inspected or go to happy hour at the poorhouse, I would opt for happy hour at the poorhouse. Anyway, here we go.
Syracuse.
This is the Syracuse Haulers pregame tailgate as we are closing in on kickoff for the Syracuse Orange. Here's Gomez and Adam Terry on TK99 and TK105.
Getting set for that 3 p.m. kick against Boston College. The pregame tailgate broadcast. Just comparing notes with Adam Terry about how to get out of various traffic violation tickets. In this case, an inspection. And I was telling you, I used to get that all the time, and it would go like sometimes a year. It's not like it was a month. I mean, I would be egregious. I didn't realize that there was a different term if it were over 6 months. But when it was that far over, I would find myself on purpose taking like one-way streets so that like a cop couldn't see me like coming from the opposite direction and look at my inspection sticker, or taking a lot of right-hand turns and.
Gotcha.
I was
trying to lose them.
But those days are over. But I don't know if there's anybody that might have a tip there for Adam. It turns out it's a Wayne County, so I can't help you there. Well, that's okay.
Hey, I'm just gonna face the music, right? Go in, get it inspected. There's nothing wrong with it. So
no,
it's
okay.
We'll see.
It's all good.
See how it goes.
First, post Thanksgiving, we didn't have a chance to chat there, but highlight there for you. What you and the family do?
Brother-in-law had it at his house. First one over at his new house. So he's been in there less than a year, and good food. My wife did half. He did half. So my wife did the turkey and the stuffing and all the fixings and all that good jazz. And then he did the ham and things of that nature. And the pies were assembled by the remainders. But overall a good time. Watched a little football. Watched 2 games of football. By the time the Ravens game came on, I was like, I'm going home. I'm ready for bed. So that's about what I made it.
That's your team.
Yeah, but I would rather. So I guess this is the question: is if you have a team, would you rather watch it in the confines of your own home? Yeah, I would rather watch it at home.
Okay.
If I start swearing at people, it doesn't really matter.
There you go. It's your own thing. And I know last week, Coach Fran, when he was on with us, very passionate about cranberry sauce from a can. as opposed to like real cranberry. So that's his go-to. I don't know if that's something that you do at the Thanksgiving.
I've had both. Mom would do cranberry out of the can. My wife does the cranberry sugar saute type, whatever that is.
Yeah.
But
okay.
It's a tough one.
Tough one.
I'll go either way. Fair
enough.
It's good either way to me.
On to the task at hand for Coach Fran and the team senior day, as we talked about earlier, but final game of the season against BC. And do we know at this point, because if you were to give me a quiz as to who's starting at quarterback, I'd probably flunk the quiz because you hear different things on different days, but I'm assuming Filardi is getting the nod today?
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised to see others in there, right? Like, I think this is an opportunity to get some guys in. I would imagine to see a Filardi. Carney's out of the mix. Collins is probably out of the mix. So, a guy like a Beelan, who's a New York State prospect, freshman. There's a couple other things that come closer to game time. I've heard some interesting things, but can't give those away yet.
Not just yet. Now,
I'll lose my sources.
Are any of the players on the field yet starting to stretch out and loosen up, or is it still too far ahead?
No, you can tell that Boston College has been in. Syracuse's buses have started to roll through. Special teamers are out here right now for Syracuse. You've got Boston College is starting to make their way out onto the field with special teamers, but it'll be a good environment. I think the playing in the confines of the dome is an awesome thing. It's even for Boston College. Boston College plays in a old school, like high end, what I would equate to Texas high school stadium, right? You're looking at it and there's not a lot to it. So I think this is definitely one of the most intriguing and interesting places in the ACC to go watch a football game.
The Boston College venue at Chestnut Hill, the last time, I think I've mentioned this to you before, but the last time I was at that stadium for a Syracuse BC game was the famous Diamond Ferry game. Where
it's been a while.
So what year was that? Because he scored, and
that
again,
was my senior season,
right? So, and was that what was that the final game of the season that year, or no?
Yes. It was our final game of the regular season. We beat BC. Well, I'll put it this way. If we had beaten Temple the week prior and we beat Boston College, we would have played in the Fiesta Bowl, and Pitt took our spot. But we lost to Temple. Washington was the quarterback, and we went in, and this was just one of those where it was like reckless abandon. We were pulling out no stops, trick plays, and then we get into the game, and we lose a tailback. And Diamond Ferry, coming from Everett, Massachusetts, hometown game, steps up to the plate. Didn't play. He came in as a tailback when we were being recruited. We were the same college recruiting class, and Walter Reyes was not in. He was injured. Damian Rhodes, I think, tried to give it a go, but he was injured. We had used Jeremy Sellers earlier in the season, but then we put in Diamond, and Diamond was just, it's crazy because you see what type of player he was, and you just wish you could have gotten more games out of him. But going in front of your hometown crowd, lots of fans, lots of family in the stands, and he went off. 3 touchdowns, offense, defense, special teams. I think he had more touchdowns than that, but I think that was the trifecta of the Pontiac game changer of the year was that performance by Diamond. And then, we go down to Champ Sports Bowl and we play Georgia Tech and get Wall up down there. And then the rest was the firing of Coach P and things of that nature later on. But that was a game, and that was a heck of a game. And it was fun. So it's a good game to go to.
Well, yeah, that was a great game, and I didn't know because that was the only time I'd been to that stadium. But unlike the JMA Wireless Dome, where they have beer available, many college facilities don't, and I didn't know that about Chestnut Hill. So me and my friends that I went to the game with felt compelled to finish what we had before going in, because if we weren't going to be able to. So long story short, there are parts of that game that are fuzzy. I do remember Diamond had a great game. Now,
Okay, I got you.
So what was your actual then senior game at the Dome your senior year?
I want to say Notre Dame. I want to say that.
Okay.
Not 100% sure, but I know it was in and around that time. I mean, if anything, that's the game that I remember the most out of my senior year. We go down and we're playing Brady Quinn. You've got a guy in Justin Tuck, and you've got Abba Ramiri, who is the other defensive end. And it was a solid team, but it wasn't, what we saw last week. And still have that helmet. We got the golden flakes on the helmet and just kept one of those. I mean, anytime you go against a team like that, it's especially when it was one that you really wanted to go to. I think for me, it came down to Syracuse. Notre Dame came into the picture late, but it was also Steve Adazio who was recruiting me, who first started to recruit me at Syracuse before he had left and gone to Notre Dame. Then it was Jeff Stoutland, who is now the current offensive line coach for the Philadelphia Eagles before he went to Michigan State. And then I got left with with George DeLeon. So it all worked out at the end, and it was a blast. But now looking back on it, I don't know if it's my last home game because it was during a snowstorm. So it was a sold-out stadium, but we were still missing a corner piece because people got snowed in. So to tell you the truth, I don't remember what it was, but,
It was a win, right?
Fuzzy.
It was like 38-14 or something, wasn't it? Or
the Notre Dame game? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Ran it. Walter Ray has 5 touchdowns in that game. So it was an awesome game. It was one of those that you always remember. But to remember my senior game, I just remember running out on the field. You get flowers, you run out there, hand it to your mom, give everybody a hug, and we had a good fan base. It was up in the corner, up in this 306, 307 area, and I think I had about 40 friends and family. Primarily family and extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, things of that nature. So it was a good one. I just don't remember who we played.
Well, last but not least, the J.W. Dodado Electric Player of the Game for today. Adam, who needs to have a big game? Who are you expecting to have a big game from today?
I think if we see a big game for us, it's defensively. I think everybody across the board, but. I think if we have a good game out of a guy like Dan Villari, it'll be an interesting game for us. I think the opportunity is to own the clock and grind it, and then put yourself in a situation that you can pull away at the end. And not knowing really how this quarterback situation is going to unfold, I think going with a senior and a guy like Dan Villari, I'm going with him.
Adam Terry, thank you, not just here this morning. Thanks. I know you fought through some traffic issues there, but a true game time player here. You made it in.
Today.
That's right. And thanks to Tim Leonard for filling in. But go Orange. Adam, thanks as always. And we'll chat here soon and hopefully a win to talk about.
All right. Sounds good, man.
Thanks, Adam. Bye.
TK99 and
all righty. Thank you, sir.
He's a terrific recruiter. But is there enough proof in the pudding on the field? Is there pressure to have a must-win year next campaign?
I think there's always pressure at a power conference institution, but there's certainly pressure when you go into next year to have another positive year where you're back, in the bowl picture and have a winning season. And part of it is because I think Syracuse fans for the last 2+ decades have been very jaded. Every time it seems to start going well, something negative happens, whether it's you have a couple of good years under Doug Marrone and he leaves for the NFL. Then you have a bowl season in year one against Scott Schaefer and then back-to-back losing seasons. Then you have the 1 year under Dino Babers where it goes really well and then it falls off the rails after that. You can never stay healthy all season. Now Fran comes in, has a great year one, and then everything falls off the wagon in year two. So I understand why Syracuse fans are kind of like, here we go again, right? The thing that I think is different about this is you had year one where everyone stayed healthy all year, and you had an exceptional year. Year two, things didn't go well because your quarterback got hurt. And despite the fact that it went about as bad as it could, it made it much easier for teams to negative recruit against Syracuse. Several schools that have deeper NIL pockets are quote-unquote better programs than Syracuse. Were trying to flip your most high-profile commits, and they failed. I think that speaks highly to what Fran does best, which is talent acquisition. And him as a head coach, as an in-game coach manager, as someone who makes adjustments in-game and week to week, he's still just in year two of doing those things, of being a head coach, and he's going to continue to get better at them as he continues to work at it. But I think Syracuse is going to be more talented. They're going to be deeper next year. They're going to have a much more favorable schedule. And if they can get their quarterback situation squared up so that maybe you don't have to have Angeli start right away because you bring in someone from the portal, and then you can kind of ease him back in, but you've got depth there at the quarterback position, I think you're set up to have a bounce back year in 2026.
So what does success look like next year for Syracuse football? Is there a specific number of wins you have to get to feel confident in what you have in your head coach, Fran Brown?
Well, I think Fran Brown would tell you an ACC championship, right? Sure. That's the reality of the way that he thinks, which is you win 10, 11, 12 games, you win your conference, and you get to go to the playoff. That's successful. But when you start looking at next year's schedule, right? So your non-conference schedule includes New Hampshire, Toledo, at UConn, which doesn't look as tough anymore because Mora's leaving. So who knows what they're going to be. But then your conference schedule, you get Clemson, but that's at home. Louisville and SMU are both good teams. You get them at home. You get Notre Dame at home, so quite a difficult home slate.
Sure.
But your road games are Boston College, North Carolina, Pitt, Virginia. I think it's a challenging schedule, not quite to the same level as this year. So to me, if you can get back to 7, 8, 9 wins, I think you still feel pretty good about the direction of this program.
All right, Mike, I know you have to get out of here. I know you have to head over to the studio to hang out with Stephen Fonte for the final hour of our program. And
Steve
if you're
misses me, so
he does. Steve's stealing you from me, which, whatever, it happens every home game, right?
I know.
I like the road games. When we get to make a day of it, we do the watch party and everything.
I know, it's fun.
Are you going up to the Dome today?
I am. I'm here. My wife's uncle is here. We're going to go
Beautiful.
up. He's in town from South Carolina for the holidays, so we're going to go up and watch the game.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. All right, well, get up there safely. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the snow, because I know, like myself, you're a fan of it, unlike pretty much everybody else in Central New York.
He misses it being from South Carolina, so he's glad that it's on the road.
I don't blame him. I missed it when I lived in Virginia because there wasn't very much of it. Enjoy the rest of your rivalry week because there's a lot of awesome football, and we'll hang out with you soon.
Yeah,
but it's been fun, my man.
It has been a fun year. I'm glad we got to do this, and we'll be seeing a lot more. Yeah, I'm sure.
If you're feeling very inclined, feel free to call in post-game and chat about it on your drive.
All right,
home.
Might depend on how it goes. But we'll see.
There we go. I figured. All right. For Mike McAllister, I'm Giovanni Heater. Stick around. We're going to do a whole hour, just me here, hanging out at Shaughnessy's. Great crowd on hand. The Syracuse fans getting ready to head up to the Dome. Mike will be with Steve for the final hour, taking you up to kickoff. We're covering you all the way until 3. We appreciate you. As always, you're getting ready for Syracuse and Boston College right here on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse. All right. Here we go. See you, brother. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I'll probably see if we can have you over at some point before you go out to Texas. Okay, sounds good. I'd love to. Yeah, I'd love to. Can't promise my son will book you to play Rocket League. I'm down. I'm always down. I'd love to. Make sure you get everything. What do you think, Jim? Let me know when it's centered.
I was trying to frame you with the. Do you see it?
Let's see. Yeah, it's a little delayed on my end.
So I was going something like that. We get the nice. You see this? Because that ornaments in the way?
Yeah. I think we could honestly probably zoom in even a little bit.
That's what I was just looking at.
Yeah.
All right, I got you there.
Oh, that's perfect. You're the man.
I remember, don't lean in too far.
Right.
Because I'll cut your head off.
True. Maybe zoom out a touch.
Good with that. I think that'll be good.
Cool. Sweet. Yeah, looks good. Nikki Vegas, my man. How we doing? Not Nikki Rhodes. Why? Well, you just don't set me up for failure like that. I don't know who that is. Now I know because you can't. Thank you. Yeah, I don't like this game. Not when a microphone's in front of my face. I hate you, Paul. Do I get to watch the game with you today? Let's go. You have to clip that now. You're a bad person. Well, you've never heard of a one-sided telephone call? Don't you watch movies? When someone's on the phone with somebody and they're like, "What? You're at the library?" I'm not smart enough to think through like that. I haven't seen you in a couple days. I'm used to hanging around my family and stuff, normal people. I didn't have my Paul hat on. Now I'm locked in. Did you? You went to the Commies game? Oh, no kidding. Lit. Giovanni Heater with you live from Shaughnessy's Irish Pub here at the Marriott downtown Syracuse, getting you ready for kickoff between Syracuse and Boston College inside the JMA Wireless Dome. Rivalry week across college football. The Orange and the Eagles go at it once again on the gridiron. Thanks so much for hanging out with us here on QSportsTalk.com and ESPN Syracuse. My best pal, Mike McAllister, he departs. He heads to the studio. Him and Stephen Fonte will have you covered that final hour, taking you up to kickoff from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. So that's where those guys are getting squared away. No quad show today due to the inclement snowy weather outside, but those guys will have you in studio, and I'll have you for the next hour, taking you up till 2 o'clock here live from Shaughnessy's at the Marriott downtown Syracuse. It's not too late. Come out, hang out, have a good time. The buffet is out. Okay, you get the shuttle right here with the wristband. It'll take you up to the Dome. It'll take you back to Shaughnessy's after the game. And with a 3 p.m. kick, shoot, you can hang around at the bar and watch the night games of college football. You can make an entire day of it here. So this is the spot to be. We appreciate them for having us all season long. It's been nothing short of a blast. And every time, though the wins have not been there, these Cuse fans continue to come out and show. So pretty awesome to see that this many Cuse fans coming out in droves for Senior Day to support this team, to support Fran Brown and company inside the Dome against Boston College today. Well, it's hour number 2 of our pregame program. So let's kind of reset the table for you a little bit to get you ready for Cuse and BC. both of these teams just kind of trying to get a little bit of momentum heading into the offseason. It's been a disappointing campaign for both Syracuse and Boston College alike. It's incredible that Boston College has not won a game since week 1 of the college football season. This was a bowl team a year ago. They did lose their starting quarterback in Tommy Castellanos, who transferred to Florida State. You just felt like Bill O'Brien had something humming at BC and in Chestnut Hill, and that was going to kind of be a program in the mix in that middle pack of the ACC. Wasn't the case in year number 2 under Bill O'Brien. So they're trying to pick up their first win, quite simply, since the first week of September. And then Syracuse on the other side, it's been a lot of losses as well. Syracuse hasn't won since they took down Clemson, down in Clemson, South Carolina, at Clemson Memorial Stadium. That was all the way back in September, the final week of September, and that's the last time Syracuse was able to win a game. So the Orange 3-8 heading into today, wins over UConn, Colgate, and Clemson. Boston College, 1 win over Fordham. These two teams have combined for 18 straight losses while amassing 4 combined wins throughout the 2025-2026 campaign. So it's kind of a battle for the bottom of the ACC, if you will. But with that being said, it still has some crazy implications when it comes to the landscape of the conference. BC 1-10, Syracuse 3-8. And that, despite all that, this matchup today could determine ACC championship participants. Let me explain a little bit further for you. You're currently looking at a race for the ACC championship game in Charlotte between a handful of conference teams. And a lot of things need to happen for some teams to get in, like a Georgia Tech, like a Miami, and not as many things need to happen for some of the upper echelon teams in the conference right now, like Virginia, like SMU, and so on and so forth. So this is how it currently stacks out, right? This is how it currently stacks out in the ACC. Georgia Tech clinches a spot in the ACC championship game with, here's a laundry list, okay? A Pitt win, plus a UVA loss, plus an SMU loss, or a Miami win, an SMU loss, a Duke loss, a Virginia loss, an NC State loss, or a Miami win, an SMU loss, a Duke loss, a Virginia loss, a UNC win, a BC win, and they have to finish higher than Miami and SMU in SportSource analytics rankings, right? I mean, it's ridiculous. And there's one more scenario for Georgia Tech. A Miami win, an SMU loss, a Duke loss, a Virginia win, an NC State win, a BC win, and they have to finish higher than Miami or SMU in the analytics. So it's unreal. Okay, Georgia Tech's not going to get into the ACC championship game. But SMU, if they win, they're in. Or a laundry list of things, including a Pitt loss, a Duke loss, a Virginia win, a UNC win. I mean, I'm not going to go through all that because it's a little overkill, right? SMU wins and they're in. Same story for Virginia. Virginia plays Virginia Tech in Charlottesville tonight. Virginia wins and they're in. Virginia loses and they're out. You look at Miami. They have the longest list. Again, I'm not going to read it, but Miami has the longest list to get into the ACC championship. The crazy thing is maybe there's an argument for them to still get into the playoffs as an at-large. What gets Miami in? A win. They would have to win today, right? A UVA loss, a Duke loss, an SMU win, and it just continues to go. I mean, I kid you not, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bullet points, and each of them have like 5 scenarios accompanied with the bullet point. It's insane. If I was a betting man and I was picking who in this 6-horse race was going to go to the ACC championship game, I'd probably say that Virginia and SMU just take care of business today and get in to the ACC title game. But Pittsburgh's still in there. Pittsburgh plays Miami today. Huge game. Pittsburgh beat Georgia Tech last week, which was a massive win for Pat Narduzzi and company. They're trying to fight their way into the ACC championship game. Duke, a 6-5 football team in Duke, still in the mix to get to the ACC championship game because of how strongly they've fared in conference play. So that 6-horse race right now is Duke, Georgia Tech, Miami, Pittsburgh, SMU, and Virginia. Again, if I was a betting man, I'd say Virginia and SMU just take care of business today, and they get in. SMU plays Cal, like we mentioned earlier in the show. Virginia plays Virginia Tech, but look out for Pitt. If they beat Miami, that game is in the 4-1-2. It's being played at Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh, so you certainly cannot count out the Panthers. And it's just mind-boggling how in all these long scenarios, right, notice that part of it is a BC win, a BC win, a BC win, a BC win for all of these teams except the ones that just automatically clinch with a victory. Notice how it doesn't say anything about a Syracuse win. It's like they have to beat Syracuse to knock them down in the pecking order. Syracuse finishes in the basement, and it has to do with who's played BC and whatnot. And the tiebreakers, this is exactly why conference realignment is a little bit ridiculous. And there's just far too many teams in these conferences at this point because not everyone plays each other. And the tiebreakers aren't as simple as a head-to-head. Did you beat them earlier in the year? But today's game between Syracuse and Boston College, for those that are into all of that, does hold stake in the conference landscape and does play a small factor into who could be facing off next weekend in Charlotte for the ACC championship game. I think if you're Fran Brown or you're Bill O'Brien, but especially Fran Brown, you'd much rather just say, hey, we're a team that if we win today, we're going to the ACC championship game. Obviously, that's out of the realm of question. Syracuse was close to that a year ago, trying to get back to that in future years, starting with the 2026 campaign. The Orange looking to pick up a little bit of momentum, trying to get back into that conversation next season. With that, we'll take a short break here. We are live from Shaughnessy's Irish Pub at the Marriott downtown Syracuse, taking you all the way up till kickoff right here on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse. Sweet. Jim, we got somewhere I can plug this in? Or no?
Let's see. I think the light's also got a battery.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're the man. You're the man. I appreciate you.
We appreciate it.
What's that? Yeah. I'm going to grab a cup of that on my way out. I'm going to grab some on my way out for sure.
Don't blame you.
Yeah. Let's see. What do we got with the chat? What's up, chat? Oh, did we lose them? Oh, okay. What's up, chat? How we doing, gang? Wow. Kev is dedicated. Wow, no boot for Angeli. Is he suiting up today? Could use him, Nick. Obviously, I know he's not suiting up. Okay, I'm just not getting the return in my ear for some reason. Yeah. Let's text him. Wow, they still hear us. We lost the return, Paul, if you can hear us. Oh, he took it out because we're talking. Thanks, bro. Appreciate you. King. Yo, Paul.
And you let us stress about it for like 30 seconds.
Yeah,
wow.
What a guy. Yo, Paul, what do you think? I trimmed up the the goatee, cut it way shorter. What do you think, Paul? No, I was thinking about shaving it off for like literally a year, and I was too scared to do it because I didn't want to look like I was 14. So this was the move. I kind of dig it. Thanks, man. Thanks, buddy.
At least 15 now.
I can't wait to. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate that. Yo, Grandma's in the chat. Grandma's in the YouTube chat. We're all lit. Grandma's in the YouTube chat. We got the. I haven't seen Grandma. I just did it yesterday, so it's very new. Very new.
Sports talk shows on QSportsTalk.com. This is the RomanoCars.com pregame show, live from Shaughnessy's in the Marriott Syracuse downtown.
And with that, we welcome you once again live from Shaughnessy's Irish Pub at the Marriott Syracuse downtown. Giovanni Heater with you, taking you up till 2 o'clock before we send you back out to the studio with Mike McAllister and Stephen Fonte, who will have you covered all the way through kickoff at 3 p.m. in the Dome between Syracuse and Boston College. It's rivalry week. We got a lot more to unpack here as we get you set and ready for the Eagles and the Orange. The snow is coming down here in downtown Syracuse. It's quite literally the most wonderful time of the year. You know, Mike and I, if you've been watching these shows and listening to these shows all season long, we've been on the Christmas music grind since like October, which many would think is ridiculous. Now we can definitely kick it into another gear and get excited for Christmas time because Thanksgiving is in the past. This is also the best time of the year in the sports calendar. So let's enjoy it. Syracuse and BC going at it rivalry week. These are two teams that have struggled a lot throughout the year, but I would encourage everybody today to take it as a one-game, one-event affair, right? Kind of throw the rest of the season away and just look at it from a 1,000-foot view. Like, let's just go up to the Dome or watch at home. Last time you get to watch Cuse football, strap it up for the next 9-10 months, right? Before we circle back to September once again with all the hype and all the excitement heading into football season. Those months don't go by very quickly, right? And football season does go by in the blink of an eye. So I would encourage everybody to just enjoy the fact that Cuse is going to play a football game today. It's not going to happen for a while. No bowl game this year. So kind of take it as a one-game affair and enjoy watching them lace it up one last time. Enjoy watching these boys go at it. And, you know, there's some seniors that have been a part of some special moments here at Syracuse in their time. You look at a guy like a Deuce Chestnut. Will this be his last game in a Syracuse uniform? He was here under Dino, went to LSU for a year, then came back when Fran became the head coach and was a part of the 10-win season a year ago and everything like that. Devin Grant, a guy that played a really big role in Syracuse's successes a season ago. I mean, the list really does go on and on. So, you know, they honor those guys today, and that's what it's all about as Syracuse faces BC inside the JMA. But in this segment, I do want to have a little bit of fun, and I want to rank Syracuse football's best players this season. And this is a little bit of a fun exercise because you could go a handful of different ways in how you assess this thing and who really have been the best players. And the success on the field hasn't been there this backstretch since the quarterback injury with Steve Angeli, but there are some positives to look at here. And I want to start first and foremost, number 5 on our list, the 5th best player for Syracuse football so far this year. I think you have to talk about the freshman linebacker, Antoine Delorier. This was a super slept-on guy until all of a sudden he became pretty highly touted at the tail end of his recruitment. There were teams in there that wanted him like Georgia. I kid you not. Some big names that were after a guy like Antoine Delorier. He stuck to his Syracuse commitment. Canadian native, played his high school ball here in the States down south. Stuck with his Syracuse commitment. He's been tremendous. He was getting all the hype because he looked like like a WWE wrestler, right, in his recruiting pictures and everything like that. He's second on the team in tackles this year, 23 solo, 28 assisted, 51 total. He's got a sack, 2 pass deflections. Both of those pass deflections came in the overtime frame against UConn. They were on back-to-back plays. Huge for Syracuse in winning that game. Has an interception this year. I just think Antoine Delorier has been awesome. This is a guy that is going to have a good shot to be a freshman All-American this year. He's been in that conversation. He's also a guy that's going to play a huge role for Syracuse going forward. I don't see him going anywhere. I think he likes it here. I think he has a great relationship with the coaching staff here. That is the strength of a guy like Fran Brown. And I think Antoine Delorier has done a really nice job for the Orange. I'm excited to see where his career continues to go because I truly think he's going to be a staple for Syracuse in the next 3 years to follow. That's Antoine Delorier. 4th best player this year for Syracuse football. Could have gone a handful of different spots for this. Ended up going, though, with Justice Ross Simmons. Justice Ross Simmons, though, because he's been a little bit banged up, he's been the 4th leading receiver, 20 catches, 312 yards, 5 touchdowns. And it's the 5 touchdowns that really stand out to me. He's tied with Darryl Gill Jr. With 5 touchdowns on the year, but it's been the caliber of catch, right? Made some really difficult catches. I take you to that pylon catch in overtime against UConn. I take you to the first opening drive at Clemson where he gets second place on Randy Moss's You Got Mossed on Sunday NFL Countdown, brought to you by ESPN, right? I think Justice Ross Simmons, an incredible athlete, really has a knack for making the tough, difficult catch. Justice Ross Simmons is our 4th best player for Syracuse football. Right there with him, I think you got to give it to Darryl Gill Jr. 32 catches, 506 yards, 5 touchdowns in his own right. He was number 1 on You Got Moss for that catch against Colgate. Remember, that was a big coming out party for Darryl Gill Jr., and he's been steady all season long. So I think Darryl Gill is pretty much tied with Justice Ross Simmons, 1-1, right? But he is that 3rd best player for Syracuse football, in my opinion, there when you look at what Syracuse has to offer. So you got 2 wide receivers there. Who is the 2nd best player for Syracuse football? Handful of places you could have gone with this. I'm going to go with Demetrius Samuel Jr., which is crazy because the kid is still 17. But I think he's unreal. He was tested against Tennessee. It felt like Tennessee kind of picked on him, said, we got guys that are bigger, faster, stronger. We're going to target you a lot. It's your first collegiate start. And he got bullied a little bit against the Volunteers. And then all of a sudden a flip switched and he turned it on. And he has been tremendous. He's been at the top of so many different lists throughout the year in the national landscape, whether it's grades or just straight raw statistics for the production he's had on the field for Syracuse as a corner. Came in as a 2-way player. We haven't really seen him play receiver, but he's played a heck of a lot of really, really good corner for this Syracuse football team this year. So I'm giving the 2nd best player for Syracuse in 2025 to the 17-year-old freshman in Demetrius Samuel Jr. He's another guy that, just like Antoine Delorier, if Fran, because nowadays you have to recruit your own team. If Fran does a nice job in doing that, he's going to be here. He's going to be a cornerstone for the next 2 years, I think, 2 more years. And then after 3 years of college football, he's going to the NFL. I think that's the caliber of athlete you're looking at in Demetrius Samuel Jr. He has been documented saying, I want to say it was a post-game press conference, or it might have been a Tuesday night practice media session, actually, I believe it was. But he's been noted saying that he's going to be back, and he's going to be in a Syracuse jersey next year. So number 1 on the defensive side, that's Demetrius Samuel Jr. Who has been the best player in 2025 for Syracuse football? First, some honorable mentions before we give it to one individual. I think guys that very easily could have found their names on this list and didn't. First and foremost, number 1, Yasin Willis. I think Yasin Willis might be the best player on the football team, but the statistics weren't there to back it. 129 carries, 558 yards, 4 touchdowns on the season. And it's a shame because of how one-dimensional Syracuse's offense became when Steve Angeli came out of the mix after the Achilles injury. Syracuse's inability for the passing game to work. Because of all of that, Yasin Willis never got the opportunity. Teams would stack 8-9 guys in the box, shut down the run, and that was kind of that. And even then, he could still have bell cow moments for Syracuse, but it just never lived up to what it could have been if you did have a two-dimensional, multifaceted offense that really could attack you in different ways like we were used to seeing under Jeff Nixon. And he really would have had a Quinn Allen-like season rather than a year that he's had if the passing game was there for Syracuse. I would have liked to seen him catch the ball a little bit better. There were a lot of times they did try to target him in the passing game, and that was a strugglesome point. Not quite the receiving back that a guy like LeQuint Allen was for Syracuse. I think that comes, though, different style back, right? A bruiser, more run through you than around you. Shoot, he had moments of jumping over you instead. Remember that Duke game, the big hurdle that he had? Got this team to so many opportune positions, getting them down to the 1-yard line countless times, and Syracuse was unable to get it into the end zone. I take you to the Duke game. I take you to the SMU game, right? Like, the opportunities were there. Yasin Willis is the biggest honorable mention, in my opinion. You continue to go down the list for guys that can certainly be honorable mention. I think a guy like Jonte Cook deserves honorable mention, right? His stats, he's the best leading receiver on the team, has more catches than anybody by quite a margin with 42, 521 yards, 2 touchdowns. If the quarterback position was there, Jonte Cook would have had an unbelievable season. I think I'll die on that hill. I thought you saw big flashes of that in the Clemson game in particular. Remember, he got a little banged up in that Tennessee game. Still gave it a go the rest of the way, but I think he was really starting to catch his stride in that Clemson game. Seemed like he was clicking very nicely with Steve Angeli. So, again, would have loved to have seen more of that. But Jonte Cook, I think, deserves some honorable mention. I think Dan Villari, the tight end, deserves some honorable mention. With the quarterback being where you wanted it to be, he certainly would have been targeted more. I think Gary Bryant, the team's leading tackler, deserves an honorable mention nod for the best player, the top 5 players for Syracuse football. You could say that a guy like Brahim Long or Deuce Chestnut could be in that conversation. Chris Peel, perhaps a Kevin Jobity, perhaps a David Reese. Those are your pass rush generating type of guys. When you look on the offensive line, there are some names that pop out. But number one, the best player for Syracuse football in the 2025 campaign was, folks, it was Steve Angeli. Steve Angeli, through 3 games, was leading the nation in passing. He put on an absolute show against the Clemson Tigers in Death Valley before unfortunately tearing his Achilles, bringing his season to a close. Steve Angeli was awesome. Steve was everything you could have asked for, coming off of a year that you saw Kyle McCord lead the nation in passing, win 10 games, get this team back to, prominence and supremacy. Steve was everything you could have asked for. And it wasn't firing out of the gate. It took him a couple games to really get his feet under him. But from the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter against UConn, all the way through till he got injured against Clemson, he was playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Putting up big boy numbers, making big-time throws, really started to look comfortable, confident, just was catching his stride. And I know Clemson hasn't had a great year, but that's because you got Clemson week 4 rather than week 8. If you get Clemson week 8 and their season's already fallen apart, it's different than getting them early in the year. When Syracuse got them, this was a Clemson team that still had some hopes and aspirations. The sky was falling a little bit, but Syracuse beating them in the way they did was the nail in the coffin, right? To go to Death Valley in front of that sold-out crowd and come out and punch them in the mouth like Syracuse did hasn't happened in the history of the program, playing a game in Death Valley like that. Steve Angeli's awesome. He was 98 for 156 for over 1,300 yards. Had 10 touchdowns to 2 picks. That was all in 3.5 games, right? So Steve Angeli, I truly believe, was the best player for Syracuse football this year. Certainly the most valuable when you look what happened when he was no longer in the mix. And I think Steve Angeli is going to have an awesome, awesome career for Syracuse. I really do believe that when he's back, when he's healthy, if he stays that way next year, put the nation on watch, because the way Jeff Nixon's offense is modeled, And the way Angeli was catching his stride, he really can put up some serious numbers. So we give the number one nod to Steve Angeli. And from what I'm seeing on Twitter, was just told that he is currently slinging around the rock in the dome on Ernie Davis Legends Field with no boots. Okay, obviously he's not going to play or anything like that. He's just warming up with the guys, having a good time hours before kickoff between Syracuse and Boston College. But the boot is off. He's taking steps. He's taking leaps in his recovery. He's slinging around the rock on Ernie Davis Legends Field. And that is a beautiful, beautiful sight to see for Steve Angeli and Syracuse football. We'll take a break. When we return, plenty more to unpack. We got a half hour left here at Shaughnessy's before one more hour taking you to kickoff from in studio with Stephen Fonte and Mike McAllister. I'm Giovanni Heater. Back in a jiff. You're listening to Q Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse. Chat, how we hanging? What's up, Jen? Yeah, Kev, me and Mike for home games is radio only, but it's different depending where it's at. Yo, Paul, you still got the ads rolling? Can you guys hear the ads? Lit. It's all right. It happens. It's funny. I'm talking to the chat, but I'm on a microphone in front of the whole bar, which is pretty funny. True. Yo, they're pouring shots at the bar. They are. Let me and Jim get in on that. Yeah, right. That's good, Paul. Thank you. No, they can't. You can fluster me, though. Dude, the snow's coming down. It's so nice. I love it. Is it really? Oh, yeah, I'm seeing it right now. Is it? I doubt it. Yeah, I was just there like 2 weeks ago, and it was 85 and sunny. Okay. Yeah. Right, but it only does that for short, once in a great while. Oh, did you really? Okay. What'd you say, Paul? Oh. That was a quick break.
Sportstalk.com. This is the RomanoCars.com pregame show, live from Shaughnessy's in the Marriott Syracuse downtown.
We're about an hour and a half away from kickoff in the Dome between Syracuse and Boston College. Coming to you live from Shaughnessy's Irish Pub here at the Marriott downtown Syracuse. The bar is packed with Syracuse fans getting ready to head up to the JMA Dome. One final football game for the 2025 campaign. Fran Brown and company trying to end it on a high note. And there's a little bit of ACC championship implications to this one, believe it or not, between Syracuse and Boston College as the top of the conference and all the tiebreakers try and mess their way out of things and determine what two teams are going to be heading to Charlotte for the ACC championship game at Bank of America Stadium. But one thing to worry about is Syracuse and BC, one team trying to end the season on a high note and win its first game since September. Boston College has not won since week 1. Syracuse has not won since week 4. But with that, it's time to bring you our injury report brought to you by Krause Hospital, as well as our starting lineups brought to you by none other than Upstate Imports. Starting lineups-wise, not a ton to look at here. My biggest question mark is what the quarterback position is going to look like today. We don't really have an answer to that yet. Fran Brown has said that he truly believes that Beelan is going to play, right? Another freshman quarterback that we have not seen, Rich Beelan. He said that Rich is going to play. Does that mean he starts? We don't really know. I think everybody's thinking Joe Filardi still gets the start with hints of Beelan in the mix. Know for a fact you're not going to see Luke Carney today because Luke Carney is trying to salvage the red shirt. You can appear in 4 games while still holding on to your red shirt. He's appeared in 4 games because they played him for a little bit last week against Notre Dame. Should they have? That's a conversation for another day. Many people think they shouldn't have, but it doesn't matter. They did, and now you cannot see Luke Carney today if he's to still hold on to that red shirt. So you're not going to see Luke Carney in the mix today for Syracuse. You're not going to see Ricky Collins. It seems like they've fully just moved past Ricky Collins, and Ricky Collins will not be in the mix at all. And then you look to the rest of the quarterback position, and you're left with Joe Filardi and Rich Beelan. So I do believe you're going to see Rich Beelan. While Joe Filardi gets to start, there are spurts where you will see Rich Beelan. You look at the injury report, nothing really stands out for either of these teams. Injury report, as always, brought to you by Krause Hospital. Nothing really stands out when you look at the injury report. Syracuse going out there with a pretty fully assembled team. Boston College, much of the same. And the Orange and the Eagles both trying to win a game for the first time since September. An exercise that I want to do, similar to that of ranking the top 5 players, I want to look ahead a little bit. And I want to look at Syracuse football's schedule for next season. Because I think next year, all of a sudden, became crucially important to the longevity of Fran Brown's tenure here in Syracuse, the longevity of the athletic department. Like, football is king, right? You have to win in football to have a successful athletic department, and it starts at the top, right? Football is the moneymaker, the breadwinner, if you will. You have to be successful on the football field. Syracuse, in this era of what have you done for me now, this era of recency and building towards the future, is trying to be prominent in the inevitable future of conference realignment and everything like that. Syracuse wants to be on the better half of that conversation and that argument, and winning in football is crucial towards being successful in that department. So let's look ahead, because next year becomes ever so important for Fran Brown and the Syracuse football program. We don't have dates, of course, but we do have opponents for Syracuse football in 2026. And I'll tell you what, this schedule is fairly winnable for the Orange next year. They're going to play New Hampshire in the Dome. They're going to play Toledo in the Dome. They'll play UConn on the road. I think Jim Mora is no longer going to be the head coach at UConn, so that all of a sudden looks a lot less tough than it has the last 2 years. And on top of that, Syracuse has won each of the last 2 against the UConn Huskies. They'll play at Boston College in ACC play. They'll play at North Carolina in ACC play. They will play at Pitt. That's never an easy feat to go play at Pitt. They'll play Cal in the Dome. They'll get Clemson in the Dome. They'll get Louisville in the Dome. They'll get SMU in the Dome. They will play at Virginia at Scott Stadium in Charlottesville, who's having a really nice year this year. A win tonight for Virginia gets the Cavaliers into the ACC championship game. And then they will get Notre Dame inside the Dome as well. We'll see if that one sticks. Huge non-conference opportunity for Syracuse it would be to play the Fighting Irish. We'll see if that one sticks with the addition now of an extra conference game. Something has to go. If you're Syracuse, you weigh the options. Okay, huge home game. We can stack the Dome. Fran's going to want to play the best of the best. Or do you salvage a win and keep Toledo or New Hampshire on the schedule, especially because those are bye games, and there's a lot that goes into it. So we'll see what Syracuse ends up doing. I've heard rumors stirred that maybe that Notre Dame game evades the schedule and ends up being wiped off for an additional conference game. We'll see how it all shakes out. But this schedule is not bad. You're avoiding Virginia Tech, where James Franklin is now the head coach there, and it looks like the Hokies are going to be back in the conversation. So you avoid Virginia Tech. You're going to avoid Florida State, which is big. I think Florida State at some point has to get things right. Norvell seems to be their guy. You've seen at their best what they can be. They went undefeated a couple of years back under Mike Norvell, right? Undefeated in the regular season with an ACC championship. So you avoid Florida State. You look at the rest of the ACC. Clemson doesn't scare you a ton. Louisville's a tough game. SMU's a pretty tough game. You get both of those in the Dome. What is Virginia? I think year to year, there's a lot more bad Virginia teams than good Virginia teams, certainly. So you don't feel terrible about having to play Virginia as an ACC road game. You have to play at BC, whatever. You have to play at Pitt, fine. You have to play at UNC, fine. You don't have to play NC State, right? That's kind of a team on the rise. You don't have to play Georgia Tech, which I think is huge. I think as long as Brent Key is in Atlanta, Georgia Tech is going to be humming. You don't have to play Miami, which I think is massive. Like, this is not a bad ACC schedule coming up next year for Syracuse. So I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I think that there's a path here for Syracuse to be seriously successful next year, even with that Notre Dame game on the schedule. Toughest games, what stands out the most? Definitely Notre Dame probably being the toughest. Clemson probably the second toughest, but you get them at the Dome. SMU or Louisville tie them for the third toughest. I think Rhett Lashley and Jeff Brom are two of the best coaches in the league. And both of those games are at the Dome. A lot better than last year, where every tough game, Georgia Tech, Miami, Notre Dame, Clemson, they were all on the road. Not to mention SMU on the road, Tennessee on a neutral site. Every difficult game was on the road this year for Syracuse. Toughest game in the Dome was what? Duke, maybe? Who somehow at 6-5 still has a shot to get to the ACC championship game today in that 6-horse race. So, again, I think this is gettable. I think you have to feel optimistic if Syracuse can put the pieces together with the transfer portal, with the young freshmen coming in. If they get their quarterback right, which I think they have in Steve Angeli, they're going to emphasize having depth at that position. Clearly, I thought they did this past year. I mean, they bought two of them, right? You had a 4-star former LSU in Ricky Collins, and it just didn't pan out. So nothing's ever promised, but I do feel optimistic. If they can get the defensive side of the football right, that is going to be the biggest key. If they can get the defensive side of the football right, I feel optimistic heading into next year. We're hanging out at Shaughnessy's, about 15 more minutes on this end before we send it out to the studio with Stephen Fonte and Mike McAllister. Kickoff just about an hour and 15 minutes away inside the Dome between Syracuse and Boston College. We'll step aside for a brief moment. When we come back, I'll make my final predictions and put a bow on this thing, getting you ready for the Eagles and the Orange from the JMA Dome here in Syracuse. You're listening to Q Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse. Sweet. You know, you just can't have all that grease, Steve. Oh, I lost it. What's that? What's that? Yeah, I am. Hey, awesome.
Give him a second. Somebody's talking to him.
Oh, yeah. I don't.
Sandro DeViro.
Okay. Oh, okay. That makes sense. Okay. All right. Very cool.
You remember him at all?
I don't, because I went to elementary school, but I moved to Cicero when I started going to Gillette in 5th grade, so I didn't go to elementary school out there. Yeah.
He used to go to a lot of the games.
Okay.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Big time, calls into all the programs. And
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Very cool. Okay. Gotcha.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too, man. Dude, so you're going up to the Dome? Yeah. Awesome. Nice.
You think they're going to win? I just feel like,
Jim thinks about. I mean,
you think they're going to win?
I think they definitely could win. I don't really know what to expect. It really depends. I kind of hope they play Rich Beelan, that other quarterback we haven't seen. Because at this point, I guess let's just see something we haven't seen, right? So I think they could win. I don't think they'll quit on it, because I think Fran's a good coach.
And not to mention recruiting. Every game's recruiting.
Right.
You can't get blown out against BC.
Exactly. So we'll see. But
were you the voice of the North Stars?
When I was in high school, yeah.
You were the voice up there?
Well, so I did the broadcasting. Once in a while, I did the PA.
I could hear you when I was in the stadium.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. Once in a while, I did PA too.
Nice.
But there's another guy. His name's Daryl. That's been doing it for forever.
Nice.
That does the PA announcing.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, good to meet you too, man. Enjoy the game. Thanks for saying hello. Sorry, Steve. Somebody came up. I missed the second half of what you were saying. Steve, we are so the same. I hate door handles and touching anything with my hands. I got hand sanitizer in my cup holder. Yeah, I'm a germaphobe as well, for sure. Anytime I step in the house, I wash my hands. In fact, I'm exactly the same, 100%. Yeah, there we go. And we're probably sick less than everybody else, right? Exactly. True. Someday, right?
Sports talk shows on QSportsTalk.com. This is the RomanoCars.com pregame show, live from Shaughnessy's in the Marriott Syracuse downtown.
Final segment here from Shaughnessy's Irish Pub at the Marriott downtown Syracuse. Giovanni Heater with you on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse. So fun to have all these Cuse fans out at the bar as always, enjoying the drinks, enjoying the buffet before taking that shuttle up to the JMA Dome, getting you ready for Syracuse and Boston College. Coming up at 3 p.m. sharp, but we have a full hour of more to unpack for Syracuse and BC. We'll send it back to the studio with Steve Infanti and Mike McAllister, so certainly don't turn that radio dial. They'll typically be up on the quad, as you know, throughout the season, but with the snow coming down in the 315, we had to keep the boys warm and set them up indoors in the studio, and it'll be also fun to hang out with them for the next hour. So definitely be sure to tune in for that. But with that, let's go ahead and get into our Liverpool Pool and Spa Dream Outcome. Don't just dream it, live it with Liverpool Pool and Spa. Syracuse and Boston College going at it in the Dome. A battle of two teams who have not gotten into the win column since September. Syracuse looking for win number 4. Boston College looking for win number 2. Who's going to do it? Who's going to be the deciding factor? I'm going to say the Cuse get it done today. I'm going to say the Cuse get it done. I think the Dome being a home field advantage is going to help. I think Fran really wants to end the season on a high note, carry that momentum into next season, into the offseason, for whatever that is worth. I just feel like they're not going to roll over today. Two teams that really are trying to prove to themselves and their coaches, right, that they're not going to roll over. And if you're a Syracuse player, you're still playing to almost be recruited for next season, especially if you're a younger guy, right? Because it's all about roster attention. If you're one of the younger guys, you don't want to be told, hey, maybe this isn't the place for you. We're going to bring somebody to fill your spot. You know, you want to give it all you got and lay it all on the line. So I don't question Syracuse's fight today. I think they'll come out swinging. I think they're at home. I think Rich Bielin is going to be the difference. Just a gut feel. He's the only quarterback we haven't seen. Not saying it's going to be perfect, but I think he could make a couple of plays for Syracuse that are the difference. Filardi, I do believe, will get the start. We'll see how long that lasts. Fran said that we will see Rich Bielin today. So with that being said, I think Rich Bielin makes a couple of plays that are the difference. It's a wrinkle that is not on tape, I think, is the biggest thing. There's no way for Boston College to prepare for that. And I think Rich Bielin makes a couple of plays. Give me Syracuse to win the ball game. Neither one of these teams score very much. I'll go Syracuse wins this thing 21-14. Final score. Give me Syracuse 21-14. Somehow they muster 3 touchdowns. We'll say Bielin accounts for 2 of them. 1 of them on the ground. And I think they need some special teams or defensive help. Couple of turnovers, and the Orange are able to get it done here. Give me 21-14. Syracuse beats Boston College in the Dome, ends the season on a little bit of a high note here, and tries to carry that momentum into the second half of the year. Some things I want to discuss before we finally let you go. What needs to be improved for Syracuse football next year in order for this team to see significant success? What can Syracuse do this offseason to make sure that next year is not another 3-9 or 4-8 result, and they are back on the upswing, back with positive momentum, moving in the right direction? I actually think the spot to start has nothing to do with the quarterback. I think the quarterback position is going to be fine. I think when they have Steve Angeli back, it's going to be good. Shoot, if they go in the portal and they bring in another quarterback, perhaps even better, right? Whether he competes with Steve, whether he's the backup, whatever the situation is, I think that's a good spot. I think it's the defense. I think Syracuse's defense is actually going to be the biggest catalyst in success next year. To put it bluntly, the defense last year was not great. I think that it was covered up by how prolific the offense was. Remember, one of the best offenses in the country, an offense that led the nation in passing. Great talent across the board on last year's roster. So I think that the defense had a lot of shortcomings hidden by how successful the offense was in carrying that team to success. Now, they made stops when they had to. Like that Miami game. They made some really big plays. The game winner was the Devin Grant scoop and score, right? So I'm not saying the defense was bad by any means. I just think that they weren't great. And it was a shortcoming for the Orange a season ago. And it cost them in some moments, right? The Stanford game on the 4th down play. The Boston College game, if they could have made one more stop, right? I think this year the defense, though, has seriously been a glaring issue at times for the Orange. Really uncompetitive in trying to get stops. You look at the Notre Dame game last week. That was problematic for Syracuse, and particularly in stopping the run when you get run on for over 300 yards, a total offense, while only allowing 62 or something like that through the air. Well, the offense doesn't even touch the field, and there's already 21 points on the board. Of course, they were put in an inopportune position, but I just felt like the defense has been a shortcoming all year. The Duke game, right, allowing a ton of points to Duke. The SMU game at times. Like, you go down the list, the North Carolina game, Syracuse's defense was not strong this year, and that's why it ranks where they do nationally, deep into the 200s, deep into the 100s as far as where they rank in the national picture on the defensive side of the football. So I think Syracuse's defense is the biggest place to start. Improving that defense, whether that means some staff changes. Elijah Robinson is going to be back. We know that. I think Fran will carry him with him all the way through. That's his guy that they grew up together in Camden. But whether they make some changes at a deeper level on the defensive staff, we'll see. If it's a personnel thing, we'll see there. I think there's talent on the defense, young talent. Antoine Delorier, like we mentioned. Demetrius Samuel Jr. Earlier in the show, I had him in my top 5 Syracuse football players from this year, both of them. Demetrius Samuel was 2. Antoine Delorier was 5. So there's talent on that side of the ball. Maybe they need some more of it. Really got to generate a pass rush next year. Really got to put an emphasis on taking the football away and creating more turnovers. But there is some talent there. So I think the defense is the biggest place to start. I thought the receiving room would have been incredible this year if your quarterback was healthy. Really no worries about the receiving room. I think the trenches still can be bolstered more, but you've seen the caliber of athlete that Fran Brown is bringing in, the type of body he's bringing in on both lines of scrimmage, the offensive and the defensive line. So I do have serious hope there for the future with Syracuse. But I think the lines of scrimmage definitely need to be an emphasis. And then you look at positions of weakness. Maybe the linebackers need some love when it comes to the transfer portal or bringing some guys in. It's tough to bring in young freshman linebackers unless they have a body like Delorier's and plug and play them immediately, right? Just because the size isn't there, the physical presence isn't there. So I think that's more of a portal focus, if they can bring in some linebackers out of the portal and maybe bolstering that secondary a little bit. Samuel's great. Peel is great. There are some guys, though, that maybe could step it up a notch. Maybe the safeties. You're going to lose some guys as well. So across the board, position by position, there are some spots you'd like to see Syracuse improve. But let's just enjoy today, man. Syracuse football is playing a game in the Dome. Enjoy it. Soak it in. It's not going to happen again for another 9 months or so when we get to September, and football season goes by just way too fast. It's unfortunate we're not going to watch a bowl game here, but enjoy one last trip up to the Dome if you're an avid season ticket holder or you're just going to this one. Enjoy it. Soak it in. Enjoy the train horn, the whole 9, the Hell's Bells by AC/DC on third down, everything that goes along with the Syracuse football game day. Enjoy it. Hope everyone has a great time. Hope everyone gets back safely. And with that, can't thank you enough for hanging out with us all season long, right here at Shaughnessy's for all the home games, everywhere we've been for the road games, even when we're hanging out in studio. It really has been a blast getting to sit next to Mike and cover the team that I grew up loving and that made me fall in love with sports, right? It was SU sports, whether it was lacrosse, football, or basketball. So it really has been a treat. Really appreciate you guys making it special. Doesn't happen without the viewership and everybody behind the scenes. Paul, engineering every show, right with Jim, Jordan, all you guys really make it what it is. So it doesn't happen without you guys, and really appreciate you guys putting in the work and the hours that you do. So with that, I'm going to take a break. We're going to send you back to the studio with Steve Infanti and Mike McAllister. They're going to have you covered for the next hour right up until kickoff, 3 p.m. sharp in the Dome. You got Syracuse and Boston College. One final time on the gridiron for Fran Brown and Syracuse football for the 2025 season. I'll talk to you post-game. You can find it right here on Q Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse, and we'll have the post-game coverage immediately following the end of the game. Enjoy it. For everybody behind the scenes, I'm Giovanni Heater saying so long from Shaughnessy. Stick around for the fellows back in the studio. You're listening to Q Sports Talk and ESPN Syracuse.
Evan, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike
in sports that
What's up, everybody? Got 15 people in the chat.
Nice. I bet Jen's one of them.
Kev, what's up?
Hey, Kev. I met Kev for the first time this year. I talked to him in chat a lot, but
Kevin's a good guy.
I never had actually met him in person, and then he came up to Shaughnessy's one of the times Gio and I were up there.
Nice.
Yeah, it's nice to actually meet him.
I am glad that we're in here and not freezing our butts off on the quad, if we're being honest.
As much as it would have been nice to just like walk over after we're done, the hour before that would not have been as nice.
No.
There's a fake 247 account called 274.
So good.
And they're parody, but they tweeted out Lane Kiffin LSU official, and people are like, "Oh my God, 247 Sports is reporting it. It must be real." It's like, guys.
I just think it's really bizarre how he's handled that whole situation. Like with the
saying
he's gonna say an answer and then not, and then saying I need one more day. Like, what's one more day gonna do? Like,
yeah, and then like, have you made a decision? No, I haven't really thought about it. I just got to go home and pray.
Yeah,
like you have a potential life-changing decision. You're gonna say that you and your family haven't discussed it at all.
Yeah, right.
Like
old school. I feel like it's a little bit egotistical. Like everybody's waiting. Everybody's waiting on me. I'm gonna keep you waiting a little bit longer.
That's Lane. That's who he is. I think he loves all of this. Like the college football world basically on pause for him. Yeah. Yeah. I just sucks for those players. Like they had such a good year this year. They're going to be a playoff
that fan
team.
base too. Like you can imagine, like they're going to the playoff.
Yeah,
and, like, you're probably
Ole
going to lose
Miss
your
was kind of
coach.
like a meh program, and then he got there. He's turned him into a top 15 team almost every year he's been there.
Yeah.
And I just Syracuse gets a coach that goes 6-6 2 years in a row. We're like, no, someone's going to take them. They got a top 10 team.
Yeah, right, exactly.
What's going on with this? There we go.
WTLA North Syracuse, WSGO Oswego, W249BC Mattydale, W261AC Oswego, WTKWHD2 Bridgeport, ESPN Radio. This is the RomanoCars.com pregame show, live from the quad on Syracuse University. Here are your hosts, Steve Infanti and Mike McAllister.
This game that matters. You know, we hear the team talk about winning it for the seniors and, you know, not ending the year on this long losing streak, right? Like getting that bad taste out of your mouth going into the offseason. Is there anything to be said for that, or is that just, you know, coach speak and the media trying to drum up a storyline for this game?
I think there's probably a little of both, right? But the same things are true for Boston College.
Yeah, right.
They have the exact same situation where they don't want to go into the offseason on what would be an 11-game losing streak for them, and they want to send their seniors out on a positive note. So it's kind of the same thing for both teams. It's just, you know, how much are you which team has the, I just want to get this done with, you know, type of mentality coming into the game. But, yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of us trying to create something here, But at the same time, I do think that having that momentum going into the year of getting a win does help you a little bit. Just kind of takes that cloud from hanging over you the entire offseason. Either way, when Syracuse is trying to go after guys in the portal and other teams are recruiting against Syracuse, they're going to use Syracuse's performance this season against them, whether they win today or not. And what happens in the 2026 season isn't really going to be impacted by whether or not they actually win this game.
Right. And we've seen Fran Brown, right or wrong, he has decided to go full youth movement. The last several weeks, we have seen him turn the page on Ricky Collins. And, I'm certain that unless there's an injury or whatnot, we're not going to see Ricky Collins today. And they're just going with the young guys, Joe Filardi, and we're going to see Rich Beelan, according to Fran Brown, at some point today. 29 true freshmen have seen the field for Syracuse this year. They've had the most third most first-time starters in the country. They've had 22 guys as first-time starters this year. That's the third most in the country. So it's clear, full youth movement. So right or wrong, how do you feel with how Fran Brown has handled that part of it the last several weeks? And I guess in particular, I'm talking about the quarterback position, because I think you and I are in agreement that the player that gives you the best chance to win right now at that position is Ricky Collins. But I also understand that, okay, you're not going to a bowl game. You're mathematically eliminated. You've seen what Ricky is. He's not going to be here next year. And why not try to develop one of the younger guys who, Joe Filardi probably will be here, at least playing lacrosse, and maybe he's on the team, and, so why not give him some reps? How do you feel with how Fran has handled this situation?
I'm not sure there's really a right answer, because let's say that you had stuck with Ricky the entire time. Would their record really be any different? I'm not sure that it would. So if your record is going to be the same regardless, and you don't think Ricky is coming back, and you've seen what he is, and he's not the answer, then perhaps your best option is to try to see if one of the other guys could be the answer. Or, I've had discussions with friends of mine that said, well, yeah, but they're going to go get transfer portal quarterbacks, so Filardi's not even going to be the backup next year. But if he's your third string guy, now he's one play away from being the backup. And so
he's playing right now.
Right. So. He was like the fifth or sixth string before the season started.
So what does that tell you?
So I think anytime you can get guys reps, right? So if Luke Carney comes back, he got some reps. Not a ton, but he got some. Joe Filardi has started multiple games and got a bunch of reps. If you get Rich Beelan some reps this year, whoever ends up being the backup or the third string or the fourth string next year, you need the more experience everyone gets, the more that helps you next year. So I understand Fran's vision long term and why he's giving these guys experience. And I don't think that means that he's not trying to win these games. He's just trying to kind of do both, right? He's trying to win these games, but he understands the importance of getting those guys experience so that if you're in a situation next year or the year after where you've got injuries at the quarterback position, you've got more guys that have some level of experience than what you do right now.
And I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second. So, I know in the TV business or the radio business, for instance, like when I teach up at Newhouse, I tell the kids no rep is a bad rep. Like, go take a microphone, go with a friend, go to a high school game and just call the game. And even if it doesn't go well, like, no rep is a bad rep. You're in front of the microphone, you're learning, right? Can you say the same thing for what happened last week in particular? 70-7, right? And I'm saying this genuinely. I'm curious what you think. 70-7. A lot of freshmen got on the field, a lot of young guys, and yes, it's experience. Does that do more harm than good, though, in your mind? The fact that, I get the experience today, or if you're going to, Joe Filardi played against Pittsburgh, like Pittsburgh, BC, okay, I get that. But throwing them out there against Notre Dame in South Bend and to lose 70-7, can that hurt some of these guys? Or do you think that, like I say, no experience is bad experience?
I'll use the NFL as kind of my answer for this. And we remember, Derek Carr, right, back in the day. And a lot of people thought very highly of him coming out of college as far as what he could be as a quarterback in the NFL. And then he went to the Texans and got beat up and was just sacked over and over and over again. And a lot of people think if he had gone someplace that was more stable, or he maybe could have waited a couple of years and or had a better franchise with better weapons around him, better offensive line, etc., that he would have developed differently. And sometimes you're as much a product of your situation as you are, the talents that you actually bring to the table. So yes, I think it is possible that some of these reps could be detrimental for one's development, but typically that's mainly at the quarterback position. I think almost everywhere else, having this experience, when you go back to film study and you're working on things in the offseason, you can say, yeah, my technique wasn't great against Boston College, but I got away with it. But when I was playing the Notre Dames, that technique wasn't on point, and it needed to be if I'm going to compete at that level. So I know I have to spend this offseason working on this technique, this, et cetera. So I think ultimately it depends on how the players take those reps, even if they didn't go well, how they react to it, and how they train in the offseason to try to correct some of those things.
You brought up Derek Carr. The example that I could think of from a Syracuse perspective right off the bat is Joe Fields, right? He started that game against Purdue, and they lost 51-0. He threw for less than 100 yards, and it almost seemed like it kind of ruined him, right? And, so I think you're right. I think you said maybe aside from the quarterback position, because I do think that putting a quarterback out there in a situation like that wasn't good for Joe Filardi last week, right? I mean, it just wasn't, But I hear what you're saying, that it gives the other guys a chance to look at it and say, okay, this is the bar, this is the standard, these are the athletes that I need to be able to compete against. How do I, in the offseason, go about doing that and ramp it up for next year? But again, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but Fran Brown believes he's doing the right thing, that, all right, complete youth movement, freshmen are going to be the captains. We're going to get them out there for as many reps as possible, and whatever the final score is, the final score is. But the greater good, I think, in his mind, he said, he always talks about doing what's best for the Block S, and I think in his mind, what's best for the Block S right now is 2026. That, even though no coach wants to say that we've turned the page, they turned the page, and they did so, about 4 games ago.
Yeah, because, to your point, if you're trying not to ruin a quarterback's development, it almost felt like throwing Ricky Collins out as the sacrificial lamb against Miami and Notre Dame would have been the way to kind of protect those guys, and then you can play them against the Pittsburghs and the Boston Colleges. And then I was really surprised that they actually played Luke Carney at all against Notre Dame. Yeah. I thought they would save him for this game if they were going to throw him out there only for a couple of possessions. But so I think it's worth questioning. Not to say that means that what Fran Brown is doing is wrong. I think we'll ultimately find out down the road. In a couple of years, we'll be able to determine whether or not the decisions he made were the correct ones. But I think it's certainly a conversation where it feels like there's a lot of gray and not a lot of black and white.
Why do you think he played Luke Carney last week?
I'm not 100% sure. The conspiracy theorist in me is that he didn't want to have him as an option for the Boston College game, and so put him out there so that took that off the table.
So hold on to that thought for a second. Do you think it potentially turned Fran off the way that Luke responded about the whole red shirt? Because Luke was asked about the red shirt situation, and he said something along the lines of, if I was going to be the starter, I would have burned my red shirt. But when they elevated, again, I'm paraphrasing, when they elevated Joe Filardi to start the Carolina game, he kind of said, now I want a red shirt. It was what I took from it. Do you think that turned Fran off, and he's like, all right, well, you're going to do what I say you're going to do, and I'm going to put you out there for this game?
Yeah, that, and I believe there was a comment, too, when they asked about him throwing the football, and he said, the coaches need to trust me more. Right. So there were a couple of comments where I could see the coaches kind of saying, all right, you're allowed to have those thoughts. You discuss those with us internally. That's not something we say to the media, kind of a learning experience for him, right? Those are things that should be kept in-house, so to speak. And so, it wouldn't surprise me if it was more so like
sending a message.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm in charge.
Right. Yeah. So, you could have potentially been in line to start and or play a lot against Boston College, but you didn't handle things appropriately. Yeah. And, we go back to the DART mantra, right? Was that detailed enough for Fran Brown? Yeah. And he said no, so these are the ramifications of it.
And I think, again, my thinking on this is that they've seen what he is, and I asked Fran on Thursday on our show, I said, all right, I'm going to ask you a few big picture questions. If you don't want to answer, you don't have to answer. And I said, so what's the plan at quarterback? And he said, I said, aside from Steve Angeli starting, and he said, we're going to go out, we're going to get 2 guys in the portal, and we're bringing in, a freshman that we feel good about. So it did not sound like Luke Carney was in the plans in any way, shape, or form.
It didn't sound like that from the way he answered the question. But the thing that's always been curious to me is when he has gone out there, it's basically been to run quarterback draws.
Yeah.
Right? There hasn't been a lot of throwing the football, and when he has, it's been short passes. So is that because they don't think he knows enough of the offense and they don't want to put him in a bad position? Are they questioning his arm strength and don't think that he can throw the ball down the field? I don't know. I'm not there in practice. I don't see what they see. But it certainly seems like there's something that they weren't ready, even as bad as this got, to turn it over to him, even to start. It'd be one thing if you're like, we're going to preserve his red shirt, but we're going to start him for a couple of games to give him some experience.
Or even a game, right?
Even
You've
one.
got 4.
Right.
Why not one time let him start?
But they put Joe Filardi out there and let him be the starter and basically play entire games. Weren't willing to do that with Luke Carney, which is a little bit curious to me. So I'm not sure. I mean, part of me almost doesn't expect Luke to be here.
Well, so that's where I was going next, and I realized there's speculation with that. But if you look at that quarterback room, that's my best guess is that, well, Joe Filardi started because he is going to be here. You would assume he's going to be here because he's playing lacrosse.
Right.
Ricky's, we assume, is not going to be here. I take how he's handled these last 4 games or so as Luke's not going to be here. And the way that he answered my question on Thursday kind of felt like the backup quarterback is not on the roster right now, and Steve Angeli's the starter. They're going to go out and get 3 more guys at that position to beef up, basically clean house in the quarterback room with the exception of Steve Angeli. That's kind of how I took it as.
Yeah, I could see Rich Beelen coming back. Sure. I mean, his red shirt's preserved even if he plays today. And I think we're all in the same boat that we expect Ricky to pursue other options, go to a place where maybe he can play. But Luke Carney is kind of up in the air. I guess if I had to guess, I'd guess he probably leaves, but I'm not 100% on that. I'm nowhere near 100% on that. I haven't gotten any intel from anyone either way that says he's coming back or not. But just kind of the way this whole thing has been handled, you wonder, is his red shirt being preserved as much as a favor to the kid for his next place as it is, for his development here.
Right. So Kevin in Liverpool says they must think Carney has something if they want to redshirt him. But again, that may be coming from the kid and his family saying, listen, if we're not in your plans, can you just redshirt us so that, I've got that extra year of eligibility. Do right by him so that he still got the 4 years to go somewhere else. And Fran has said the decision of redshirt ultimately is up to him, meaning Fran, and that if I need you, I'm going to use you. If I don't necessarily need you, then I will listen and I will preserve your redshirt if that's what you want. It almost sounds like it was just after that North Carolina game, that's kind of how I took it was, Luke publicly said, if I started this game, I would have been willing to burn my red shirt. But now I don't want to, I don't want to play the 5 games. I want to make sure I redshirt this year. So I do think that there was probably just an understanding with the family that, either way, whether he stays here or not, preserve the red shirt because that's what, him and the family wants. And he's not in our plans this year anyway. So that's kind of how I took it. But in any event, they've got Joe Filardi starting today. And it sounds like we will see Rich Beelen. We have not seen him to this point. I know that, you're familiar with his game from a recruiting standpoint. What's your best guess of if and when he's out there today? What kind of quarterback are we going to see in Rich Beelen?
He can move around a little bit. I don't know that he's quite as mobile as what Luke Carney is. Luke Carney showed some good ability to run the ball and some design quarterback runs. I don't know that that's something you'd see from Rich. But I don't think arm talent was really ever a question for him. It was size. And I think he's listed at 6 foot. Some people have said when you stand next to him, he looks more like he's 5'10". So he's on the shorter side. But arm talent-wise, he can throw the ball. I don't think arm strength is an issue. He has no experience whatsoever at this level, so it's going to be interesting to see how he reacts to that when he's out there. But I think similar to Filardi, I think when he goes out there, you're not going to see him do similar things to what Luke Carney did, which is design quarterback runs, not really throw the ball and then come out. I think you'd see him run the offense when he goes out there.
315-437-7644. If you'd like to get involved, we're about 45 minutes away from kick to the 2025 regular season finale between Syracuse and Boston College. Stephen Fonte, Mike McAllister with you. We are back after this on ESPN Radio.
Point Guard Advisors and Burdick Ford.
I'm still waiting for the clear in my head from earlier.
there anything you're dying to talk about today? Like, I mean, we obviously have 45 minutes, and this game doesn't really matter. So, I mean, we could talk about BC and Syracuse. We could talk about.
Is that running rampant?
My God, that's all my kid says anymore. All the time. Yeah, my son was playing Madden this morning, and he's doing stuff with the Eagles and whatever else, and he was like, he loves to trade in Madden, right? So he's doing all these trades with everybody. He's like, I traded my backup quarterbacks. I got Kyle McCord as my backup now. I was like, okay. He's like, guess what he's rated? I'm like, what? He's like, 67. My God.
GM right there,
yeah. Well, what he does is he takes the bad players that are on the Eagles that he wants to trade, bumps them up to a 99 overall so they can trade him for the players he wants.
Smart kid.
Yeah. And then after he trades them.
How do you bump up a guy who's bad at 99?
You can edit their player ratings. So he'll like bump someone up to a 99, trade, like he'll take like the Eagles' 5th wide receiver, bump him up to a 99, trade him for Justin Jefferson, then go back in and rate him back down to what he normally was. Yeah, that's what he does.
That's exactly what
I feel like that's like a NCAA violation. It's a recruiting violation.
This is funny.
Tampering, yeah. Well.
This just showed up on my Instagram feed. 27 athlete Tyler Lynch tells me he is decommitted from Syracuse. He was never committed to Syracuse.
Do you want to talk about the 3 decommits?
Yeah, we can. We can.
How many of those happened? Where it's like,
They all happened.
No, but like, no. Like, Mike,
You're welcome.
Where, like, how many people reportedly committed, but they were never even on the radar? Like, is
That happens. So, like, there was a report out earlier this week, and I think it was because the kid posted it himself. There was a junior college kid that said he was visiting Syracuse this week. So, like, I checked with a couple of my sources, like, is this someone I need to be prepared? Like, could commit this weekend? Could not? Like, what's... And they're like, that kid isn't even visiting. It's not real. We're not recruiting him. Like, okay. All right. So, I mean, that type of stuff happens. That's why I always check. Sometimes you can tell, like, Calvin Russell wants to commit to Syracuse, like, that's real. Like, you don't really have to check on that, right? But some kid that you're like, I've never heard of him, he doesn't even have a profile on our website, that I'm going to check on before I just assume it's correct. So it's happened. That happens quite a bit. There's been stories. I mean, there was one like years and years ago where there was a kid who did like a hat ceremony on like a video, like a press conference, and he didn't have offers from any of the schools that were on his thing. And he just put one on and was like, I'm committed to, I think it was like Nebraska or something. And he's like, I'm going to Nebraska. And everyone's like, oh, okay. And then like 2 weeks later, it was like, he didn't actually have offers from anybody. He's like, yeah, I kind of made all that up. He's like, I was just hoping someone would take me.
I respect it.
Like, okay.
30 to the line. I respect that.
But yeah, that type of stuff happens once in a while. It's not as prevalent now as I think it used to be. It's a lot harder to trick people now because, you know, yeah, and everyone has sources and stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Signing week is
Wednesday through Friday.
Wednesday through Friday. That's what I thought.
87.7, 100.1, 1200 AM and 1440 AM. This is the RomanoCars.com pregame show, live from the Quad on Syracuse University. Here are your hosts, Stephen Fonte and Mike McAllister.
Steve and Mike with you here up until 3 o'clock. It's a 3 o'clock kickoff today inside the JMR Wireless Dome between Syracuse and Boston College. The Eagles won their opener this year over Fordham, 66-10. They have not won since, and we all know what's happened with Syracuse. So a couple of teams coming into the Dome today with long losing streaks. One of them will head into the offseason with a good taste in their mouth. I don't know if it's good, maybe satisfactory, or feel like they got off the schneid, got the monkey off
less
their back.
bad.
Yeah, right. I don't know what the right word is, but it's two teams that are obviously struggling this year, and one of them will get it, head into the offseason with a little bit of momentum. you and I were talking during the break about the fact that the signing period, early signing period's coming up, starts Wednesday, goes through Friday. We saw last week after the Notre Dame loss, 3 players decommitted. There was another you just kind of came across right now and said to me, this player was never really committed anyway. A fan sees 3 players in one day decommit, and I think all of a sudden the alarm bells go off, right? Oh, this is because they lost 70-7. This is because they've only won 3 games this year. But that's not always the case, right? I mean, sometimes it is a mutual parting of ways, and it seems like in the case of the 3 young men last weekend that might have been part of the case, right?
Yeah, and I think you have to pay attention to the language that the kids use too when they post their decommitments, right? And one of them said specifically, after a phone call from Fran Brown,
right, I
have decided to reopen my recruitment. That sounds more like a head coach is calling you and saying, hey, we don't have room anymore. Yeah. That's what it sounds like. And there's a couple of things here, right? So Syracuse had, I believe, 29 or 30 players committed before the 3 had decommitted. That's a lot.
Yep.
And they were top 5 in the country, I think, in total commits. And so if Syracuse is evaluating their recruiting class going into the early signing period and they're saying, yeah, like we like our entire class, but we need to be smart about how many spots we have available for the transfer portal and say we might need to drop a couple of kids from our high school recruits in order to free up a few spots for the transfer portal to make sure our depth is where we need it to be. Maybe there's, a couple position groups that you thought over the summer you were good at, and now you're saying maybe we're not where we thought we were quite yet. Those are the types of things that can change how many kids you take in a given recruiting class and all of that. So the one thing I'll say is typically when there is a player who is decommits because the school basically says you need to find another option, it's almost always like a position coach or a recruiting staff or something like that makes that call and says, hey, we don't have room for you anymore. And in this case, it sounds like it was Fran Brown himself making the call and talking to the kids and whatever else from what the kids are saying. And I think he deserves some credit for that because that's typically not the way it's done. It's kind of like someone else deal with it.
Yeah, I don't want to deal with that, right.
And
this kid doesn't matter. We don't want him, so you deal with it.
Exactly. Yeah. And, I think it goes back to Fran Brown taking those relationships seriously. And also, if you're being realistic, you never know in 2 to 3 years, could that be a kid that you want again from the transfer portal?
Right.
What if one of those kids decides to go to a Tulane or a Central Florida or, a Boston College or whatever else, and they are really, really good in a couple of years, decide that they want to try to go somewhere else and go to a different program, and you say, yeah, he developed, and we think that he would help us now, and you decide to go back after that kid, the way you handle those situations can be determine whether or not that kid's willing to
think about a kid like Cole Swider in basketball, right? Syracuse was very close.
Great example.
He went to Villanova, and it was like, okay, we still think you're a good kid. Good luck there. And all of a sudden, Cole doesn't get the opportunity at Villanova that he thinks. And where am I going to go next? And he ends up at Syracuse. And it was
had a good year.
Yeah, good year. And borderline NBA player. Obviously, played a little bit in the NBA, and still a borderline NBA player. And I think that's an example of you kept that relationship there. It was all positive. It was like, okay, it's a numbers game. You can only go to one spot. You didn't pick us, and then a couple years later, he did pick Syracuse. So that is a good example. We talked about the 3 who decommitted. There are still, their top guys are all still committed from what you understand, right? Like Kelvin Russell in particular is the guy that everybody's wondering about, and is he going to end up at Syracuse? Do you fully expect Kelvin Russell to sign this week and make it official?
Yeah, I think the class that they have that's currently committed, especially when you're looking at the top guys, they're going to stay committed. And Calvin Russell, I think a couple of weeks ago, sometime within the last couple of weeks, put out a quote that said, I'm signing with Syracuse. My recruitment shut down. I haven't considered anyone else. And I think I had said a couple of times, too, even on Orange Nation or in other spots that of the players you're looking at that are committed to Syracuse that are potential flip candidates, I wasn't considering him one because once he committed, given everything that had happened during that time over the summer, I thought he was locked in and it would take something crazy like Fran Brown leaving in order for him not to come to Syracuse. And even a guy like Cameron Wilson from Miami Southridge High School, who Florida State's been going hard after. Nebraska's been going hard after to try to flip him. He put out something just within the last couple of days that said he shut down his recruitment and he's signing with Syracuse on Wednesday. And the other guys like the Jerry's Rogers and the Amari Goffs and those types, we haven't heard anything different that would suggest that they're doing anything other than signing with Syracuse on Wednesday.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, believe that, well, the win-loss record matters. But it's not really the win-loss record before they get there that matters, right? It's how much NIL can I make? What does the team look like moving forward? What are your plans for me? Are you going to develop me? Is there a plan to get me to the NFL? Right? I mean, those things matter more than the fact that Steve Angeli went down and then they went on a long losing streak.
Yeah, and I think because you can sort of excuse it because of how it went down. If Angeli had been here and Angeli played awful all season and they really, really struggled, only won 2 or 3 games, that's a lot different than you were 3-1, had the nation's leading passer, he goes down and you didn't have a backup that could get things going in the right direction again. It's a lot different, especially when you have that 10-win season in your back pocket to point to as to, look, we've had success here. Look at all this talent that we've been bringing in. Look at this recruiting class we have that is going to be the best we've had in the last 2+ decades. We're going to hit the transfer portal really hard. We're going to make sure that some of the issues that we have on the roster, we're going to shore up the depth there. I think that combined with the relationships that Fran Brown has formed with the players and their families, et cetera, that's how you keep a recruiting class intact when the season goes off the rails.
315-437-7644 if you'd like to get involved in the program. We got about 30 minutes left. We're halfway home here on the pregame show brought to you by RomanoCars.com. Stephen Fonte, Mike McAllister with you. We'll take another time out. We're back after this on ESPN Radio.
Be part of the action live when the puck drops.
Clear.
Oh, man, this field got covered in snow quickly.
What's it? Oh, yeah.
All of a sudden, really. In a weird way. Still wish Syracuse played outdoors. Could you imagine Miami last year? I get they're playing. Who are they playing today? Pittsburgh, and it's cold.
Boston College.
No, I'm saying Miami.
Oh, Miami? Yeah.
Last year, right, when Miami came, it was snowing, or it was still like 10 degrees, whatever. Could you imagine Miami having to come up here?
I know.
You know what I mean? I feel like it's a home field advantage.
Kev, what's happening to my Eagles is that they have an offensive coordinator that is not competent and doesn't deserve to be an offensive coordinator. Nick Sirianni hired a buddy of his that had no experience or resume that deserved to be the offensive coordinator of the Super Bowl champions. And instead of hiring someone that was proven like they did the year before with Kellen Moore, they decided to do what they did in 2023, which was hire a buddy of Nick Sirianni's that had no qualifications, hadn't game planned, hadn't called plays before, and it's gone completely off the rails. And so they have 2 choices. One is they can force that OC out, hire someone that is a proven commodity, and then hope that in 2026 things get better, or you get rid of the whole coaching staff other than your defensive coordinator and start over.
My team might suck, but go Commanders. So, I always have to add that in.
Well, it's funny. I saw some Eagles fans texting with some friends of mine, too, and they were going through the rest of the schedule. Like, how many more wins can we realistically get? I said, you should beat the Raiders.
Yeah, us. You should beat us.
I don't know about that.
It's weird. Whenever we're terrible, we play you guys so well.
They always...
I don't know. I feel like Kellen... He wasn't
Washington
always the best, but...
I don't think he was that bad.
With Dallas, I don't think he was that bad.
No,
but I feel like
he was good at San Diego, but or with the Chargers.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing: he had multiple years of experience as an offensive coordinator, game planner, play caller.
And the guy got hurt all those years too.
Yeah.
He still found a way with Cooper Rush at times.
The guy that they just hired had 0 experience doing any of that. And if you're the defending Super Bowl champs, I just don't think that that's what you do. You don't hire the guy's buddy. And it's unfortunate because I still think the roster is good enough that they should be one of the best teams in the NFL.
Remember the name Jim Zorn?
Yeah. They had good offenses, Kev, when he was there. They had highly regarded offenses, highly ranked offenses in terms of points and yards and everything else. I'm not saying that he was God's gift to offensive coordinators when he was at Dallas, because they didn't win anything meaningful when he was there, but he wasn't like this level of bad as to what Philly is. And again, he was someone who had multiple years of experience being an offensive coordinator.
But Mike, A.J. Brown had catches. Whose side are you on with that, by the way?
AJ. Everything he said about the offense was right.
30, by the way.
100%. Everything that AJ said about the Eagles' offense and not being good enough and blah, blah, blah was 100% correct. He was correct. And he hasn't been a bad teammate from what everyone else has said. He's still out there playing and trying and whatever else. But I would have preferred that he didn't say a lot of that stuff publicly. But I think he was accurate in everything he said. He said the same thing the year before.
We'll get Stephen Fonte's thoughts on the Bills after this break.
ESPN AM 1200. This is the RomanoCars.com pregame show, live from the Quad on Syracuse University. Here are your hosts, Stephen Fonte and Mike McAllister.
No Cuse on the Quad today, canceled because of the weather. So Steve and Mike are with you, but we are in the Galaxy Studios, nice and warm.
Friendly confines.
That's right, down here in Armory Square. Phone lines are open. The Charles Heating and Air Plumbing and Electrical Hotline, 315-437-7644. It's brought to you by CharlesHeatingandAir.com. Do you want to talk a little bit about this game, Mike? Syracuse BC. It starts in 25 minutes from now.
I guess we should. Right?
We should probably talk a little bit about this game. When I think Boston College, I think a team that, ground and pound, right? Runs the ball. They play hard defense. They're, gritty and tough. This year's team goes to the air quite a bit, and they've got a top 20 passing attack right now in the country. Even though they're 1-10, and some of that is because they are 1-10 and they're playing from behind quite a bit. They're forced to throw quite a bit. But Lewis Bond, for instance, he's one of the top receivers in the ACC from a statistical perspective. 3 straight games with at least 8 catches and 90 yards. As a team, BC is top 20, as I mentioned, in the country in passing offense. And this is a team, even though they're 1-10, they've played better late. They gave Georgia Tech all sorts of trouble. Georgia Tech came back to win that game 36-34. That was prior to their bye week the last time out. They played Notre Dame relatively tough, 25-10. We just saw Syracuse lose 70-7.
It was a one-score game going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah. So this is a BC team that, obviously the win-loss record is embarrassing for them, but they've been playing better of late, and they certainly haven't quit on their head coach Bill O'Brien.
They haven't. Now, the passing attack, the counter to that is they do have 12 interceptions on the season. That's not great. And they've been sacked 36 times. So now when you drop back to pass a lot, then those numbers do tend to increase a little bit. But they haven't run the ball all that well, 3 yards a carry. Obviously, the sacks play a part of that. And other than Bond, they don't have another wide receiver. He's got 81 catches on the season. They don't have another wide receiver who's even half that. But they use their tight ends quite a bit. They've got, I think, between their top 3 tight ends, they've got about 70 catches. So you're going to see a lot of pro-style type of stuff, which fits what Bill O'Brien, I think, brings to the table. But there's also opportunities, I think, for the Syracuse defense to make some plays, whether it's forcing turnovers or getting after the quarterback. And I think first down is going to be so critical to how this game goes if you can keep Boston College behind the sticks. But if they can get 5-6 yards on first down consistently, that puts a lot more pressure on the defense. If you can start getting them in the second and third and longs, that's when maybe you see some of the blitzing that we saw against Pittsburgh. That's a game I keep going back to when they were really aggressive with how they blitzed and the different schemes and bringing different personnel from different places. Haven't really seen that before or after. And this is a game where, because of how frequently they throw the ball, I think there's an opportunity to have a similar game plan.
Yeah, you talk about how BC is susceptible to turnovers and giving up sacks. Those are 2 areas that Syracuse has struggled in this year. The defense has had trouble forcing turnovers, and the defense has had trouble getting pressure on the quarterback, really with the exception of the Pitt game that you go back to. And that seems like that was part of the game plan, right? Was to put a lot of pressure on the freshman quarterback and try to rattle him in it. It worked. I mean, they from that perspective, the defense, is a successful day getting to the quarterback, forcing some mistakes. Just the Syracuse offense just, cannot score. And, eventually the defense gets worn down. They're on the field a lot. And we've seen that, week in and week out now to close out the season. But I'm with you. I think we may see a similar strategy to what they had against Pittsburgh, which was, put a lot of pressure on the quarterback, force them to beat you through the air. And as you said, really outside of Lewis Bond, I'm not sure that BC is capable of beating you through the air.
Yeah, and some of the things that you mentioned with that Boston College hasn't been great at, or that Syracuse hasn't been great at, which is sacking the quarterback and forcing turnovers. Syracuse has 19 sacks on the season, not great. Boston College only has 15.
Yeah.
Syracuse only has 5 interceptions on the season, not great. Boston College only has 6. So if your offense, to flip things around here is going to get things going, you're facing a defense that kind of mirrors what Syracuse is. So I think there's opportunity. It seems to be like it's weakness on weakness all over the place. And that's where, to me, I'm not sure when you just look at things on paper, that's what the game's going to come down to. I think it's going to come down to want to, attitude, which team is coming out and actually approaching this game as we really want to win this game to send our seniors out on the right track and get things in the right frame of mind going into the offseason versus which team is like, I just want to get out of the season and be done with it.
Yeah, it's funny you should bring that up about the weakness on weakness. So Syracuse is giving up on average 35 points per game. That ranks them 127th in the country. The team right ahead of them is BC at 34.6. And it's like that across the board. Like you go down the tail of the tape that they include in the weekly game notes, and, Syracuse is, let me give you another example, 112th in rushing defense. BC is 107th. Total defense, SU is 123. BC is 129. So, they're right there. They do mirror each other, certainly, on that side of the ball. My son asked me today as I was driving here, he said, who do you think is going to win? Do you think Syracuse is going to win? And I look at this game and I don't know how they're going to win because they can't score right now. They're averaging 11 points per game since Steve Angeli went down. Like 11.
That's not good.
No. That would be if that was spread out over the course of the entire season, they would be second worst in the country. I think it's UMass has less points. I think UMass is like 10.8. Syracuse is at 11. I don't know how, but I have to believe that Syracuse is better than Boston College. And I know that Joe Filardi is starting at quarterback, but something tells me that Syracuse is going to win this game. And I don't know why I think that. I really don't. Because, they're a 3.5-point underdog to a 1-10 team who's, that team is on the road. So to me, the alarm bells, like if I'm looking at this objectively and if this was any other random game around the country, I would look at that and I'd be like, well, Vegas clearly thinks BC is going to win by like 7 or 10 or whatever. But I don't know. Like having watched BC play this year, week in and week out, I just have a hard time believing that they're going to beat Syracuse inside the Dome today.
Yeah, and that's where I come back to. I agree with you. I think top to bottom roster-wise, Syracuse is better. If Syracuse is at full strength and Steve Angeli is your quarterback,
100%.
I don't think this game is close.
Right. I agree.
So the biggest thing to me is how does Syracuse come out from an enthusiasm, want to win standpoint? If they legitimately want to win this game and all the things that Fran Brown has said this week, play for the seniors, go into the offseason with some momentum, and that resonates with this team, with the players, then I agree with you. I think they've somehow figured out a way to win the game. If they don't, I think it looks similar to what it did against North Carolina, which is the game is kind of close, and you're like, how is Syracuse letting this team score on them? Boston College hasn't had the quarterback issues that Syracuse has in terms of injury, et cetera. They're only averaging 24 points a game this year.
Right.
Syracuse is still averaging 21, despite the fact they've averaged 11 for the last 8-9 games. So, it feels like the teams are on paper very evenly matched from the way that they're currently constructed because Syracuse doesn't have a quarterback that can get this offense going. If they can get somewhat competent play today from that position, you feel like they have advantages in several other areas. Yeah. They should be able to win the game.
Yeah, and along those lines, that's where I was going next. Let's get to our home field advantage. It's brought to you by the Marriott Syracuse Downtown. Give me an area. You said there's several. You pick one. Give me the area where you think Syracuse has the biggest advantage in today.
I'm going to say Syracuse's offensive line against the front seven of Boston College. as we mentioned, they only have 15 sacks on the season. As much as we have maligned Syracuse for not being able to pressure the quarterback this year, Boston College has been worse than Syracuse. And that's without having the issues offensively that Syracuse has had, especially over the last 8-9 games. We've seen flashes where Syracuse has pressured the quarterback well in certain situations, Pittsburgh at home being the most notable. So this is a game where it feels like your offense, if it's going to get back into some sort of rhythm, that your offensive line leading the way, having Austin Collins back at center, Byron Washington with more reps under his belt, etc. This is a game where you could run the football given the defense you're playing against. But I think the biggest key to that is going to be showing Boston College early that you have some semblance of a passing game. Part of the reason they haven't been able to run the ball is because teams are putting 8 or 9 guys in the box and saying, you can't throw. We're not worried about you. And they've been right. Boston College, as bad as their run defense has been, if they do the same thing, it's going to be tough for Syracuse to run the ball. But if you can get something, even if it's little screens or slants or something, to make the passing game be somewhat of a threat, I think you've got the opportunity to run for a lot of yards against Boston College.
We should mention Noyasin Willis today. He is out again due to injury, but they've got this young stable of running backs. We've seen some of these guys get in recent weeks, and I'm with you. They should be able to run the football. They should be able to move the football and score points today. They should score more than 11 points against this BC defense. Can they? Will they? I don't know. Obviously, that remains to be seen. But that is our home field advantage brought to you by the Marriott Syracuse Downtown. The Marriott Syracuse Downtown is your home advantage for breakfast, lunch, or dinner any day. Home of the home game tailgate and unbeatable with free parking and a $2 shuttle to and from the game. And with that, we're going to take our final timeout. We're about 15 minutes or so away from kick inside the dome between Syracuse and BC. We got about 10 minutes left in our show. We are back after this on ESPN Radio.
Let's play some football. The college.
You're clear.
So depressing. I hate Ohio State winning. I just don't like them. I don't know why. Okay.
Root for them.
My uncle who's at the game just said Collins is starting. What?
What?
That can't be right. That can't be right. Hold on. I'm going to search. That was what was announced on my phone? What? On what? I'm going to guess some sort of notification got sent through and it was incorrect. Oh. Shout out to my brother and my parents. They're all watching. My brother just texted me and asked me to do a backflip so that he could watch it on the stream. I would not be able to make it up to the dome if I tried to do that.
You know what that?
Fox. And my sister-in-law, Rachel. I don't want to forget her. Shout out to Rachel.
I just searched Ricky Collins.
He said he got a notification from Fox. It was like a game starting thing, and it said Ricky Collins was starting. I'm going to guess that it's because Fox is.
There's nothing on Twitter.
What does it say? Oh, so Fox has their little game thing up, and it says starting quarterbacks, and it lists Ricky Collins. I'm guessing it's wrong.
Shows you how much
Right.
they care about this game.
But you see,
I don't think he's going to play. Yeah.
Gio ran all of it. I couldn't keep track of it. He read it all, and it took him 5 minutes to read all the scenarios.
Oh, yeah.
He just did
It was
as a
insane.
joke. He was
It was insane.
Let's go through all this.
Yeah, it was insane. My family all feels adequately loved. I have shouted out everybody. So
all of the day's work. Right there.
they are actually at the Wicked movie right now. It should be wrapping up in the next 20 minutes or so. No, my wife, my mother-in-law, and my son are all at Wicked. I am going to the football, but my wife's uncle is already at the football game. So I'm. Well, they asked me, they're like, "Do you want us to go a different time when you can go?" Because obviously I do pregame and stuff. I was like, I haven't seen the first one. So like, well, when my wife and I years and years and years ago went to see Wicked when it came here. Yeah, so I've seen it. I'm familiar with it. My wife plays the music at home all the time. So she was just singing it. She was playing it the other day when she was getting ready for work.
Are you excited about the Bills?
Excited about the Bills?
The Super Bowl Bills, like, fam, we're good.
I'm not happy about the way the season's gone. I
Me
think
either.
that- yeah.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, but we're about to blow the division to the Cowboys after they were.
Noon to 2. ESPN Radio 97.7 and 100.1.
This is the RomanoCars.com pregame show, live from the quad on Syracuse University. Here are your hosts, Steve Infanti and Mike McAllister.
All right, we've just got a few minutes left in our show as we get you set for Syracuse and Boston College. Let's get to our dream outcome today, Mike. It's brought to you by Liverpool Pool and Spa. You know how this works. It's certainly not been the dream season, but maybe for a day we could get the dream outcome. So what is it?
100-0. There's your dream. Listen, to be...
It almost happened last week, by the way.
It felt like for a while
if they do
it was
this
going
in
to.
South Bend, 100-0 might have happened.
I know. Listen, if you want to be, come back from my extremism and be a little bit more realistic, right? Then I think the dream outcome is you get competent play from your quarterback. You should see some signs from both Filardi and Rich Beelan of some positive things to build on. The offense is able to move the ball and look like an actual Division I Power 4 offense for the first time in 2 months. And your defense can turn Boston College over, get after the quarterback, and you can win maybe by a couple of scores and come out of that game feeling good about the direction of Syracuse football again, get some momentum going into the offseason, and just get that cloud of the losing streak from over the head of the program and just start to have some positive vibes for the first time in a while.
It's our dream outcome. It's brought to you by Liverpool Pool and Spa. Liverpool Pool and Spa, don't just dream it, live it with Liverpool Pool and Spa. And I realize that these things kind of go together, but as we get to our keys to the game, brought to you by Drivers Village, what are the keys to this game for you, Mike, for Syracuse to come out with a win?
I think turnover margin is huge. Boston College has had some turnover issues. Syracuse has had plenty of its own. It has not taken care of the football. We know that last week they basically had 3 in a row to open the game, and it was over before it started. I think Syracuse has to take care of the football and win the turnover battle in this one. But I also think first down success is going to play a huge role today, meaning Syracuse having positive plays on first down to try to get him into second and medium and leading to third and shorts. On the flip side, getting Boston College behind the chains, if you can stop the rushing attack a little bit, get some incompletions or pressure the quarterback and get him into second and third and longs, that helps your defense out. Those are the 2 areas that I'm looking at the most going into this one.
You mentioned turnover. Syracuse has 5 games this season in which it's committed at least 3 turnovers.
That's not good.
You cannot do that. You certainly can't do that today. Only Florida Atlantic and Nevada have turned it over more times this year than Syracuse. They have 23 turnovers, and that doesn't even include failed fourth downs. That's fumbles and interceptions. 23 turnovers. Florida Atlantic and Nevada, the only two teams that have turned the ball over more. They've got to be able to take care of the football today. And the other thing, that I think, just to add on to yours, this sounds obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway. Get to 20 points. They have not gotten to 20 points offensively since Steve Angeli went down. It's hard to win in Major Division I college football in 2025 if you don't get to 20 points. And I don't know how they're going to do it. That's why I'll go back to my conversation with my son. I don't know how they get to 20 points. I don't know how they win this game because you got to score points in order to win. But I have to think they're going to figure out a way to win this game. They got to get to 20 points. They got to take care of the football. And to some degree, they're going to have to slow down BC's passing game, as we talked about. They have a top 20 passing offense in the country. Those were our keys to the game, brought to you by Drivers Village. For your keys to your car, shop today in Cicero or at dvoffers.com. Few scores to pass along before we wrap things up here. Miami needing a win and an impressive win to keep their college football playoff hopes alive. They are getting that done on the road in Pittsburgh, 31-7 all over the Panthers. That game early in the fourth quarter. SMU trying to take care of business tonight. If they win, they're in the ACC title game. They've got Cal. That'll be an 8 o'clock start. And then the other game to keep your eye on today, from an ACC perspective, Virginia Tech. If the Cavs win that one at home, that's a 7 o'clock start. They will go to the ACC title game. So Miami hoping that one or both of those teams lose. And I don't know outside of that, what Miami's chances would be to get into the playoffs, assuming Notre Dame wins tonight.
Yeah, there's a lot of scenarios where to get Miami into the ACC championship game where it basically is like algebra and calculus in order to figure out exactly how to get there. But this Syracuse-BC game could potentially play a role in that, depending on how some other games break. And you get the right teams to win 3 or 4 different games. It gives Miami a shot, depending on if Syracuse or Boston College wins this game. So as much as this is the bottom of the basement dwellers in the ACC, Syracuse versus Boston College, the outcome has the potential to have an impact on the entire college football world and the college football playoff, depending on how some other games go.
I just called up the potential scenarios for Miami. There are 8 different scenarios for Miami to make it in. They all involve winning, of course. One of them, for instance, involving Syracuse is Miami wins, SMU loses, Duke loses, Virginia loses, North Carolina wins, and Syracuse wins. All of those things, that's one scenario, for example, for Miami. They need a lot to go right today. Probably the simplest thing is if Miami wins, Virginia loses, Duke loses to North Carolina, and SMU wins, that would put Miami in. That's the most likely scenario, that SMU takes care of business against Cal, Duke loses to North Carolina, and Virginia loses to Virginia Tech. That would get Miami in.
It's rivalry week, and you've got the ACC rivalry of SMU Cal.
Yeah.
When you think of the ACC,
throw out the records.
You think of Dallas versus California.
Throw out the records.
That's what you think.
We've got 30 seconds left, Mike, so it is time for a prediction. Who wins today and why?
27-21 Syracuse. I've got Syracuse's 27 points as 2 offensive touchdowns, 2 field goals, and either a special teams or defensive touchdown.
All right, I said they got to get to 20. I'm going to say they get to exactly 20. I'm going to say 20-17. Again, I don't know how this thing plays out. I don't know how they score 20 points the way that the offense has been struggling, but I'm going to go 2017. And with that, we are out of time. For Paul running the board, for Mike, I'm Steve. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody.
Let's play some football.
The College Football Playoff.